so great about natural?
What?
Think about it. Tobacco is natural. Prozac's unnatural. Earthquakes are natural. Podcasts unnatural. Natural sucks. Now, here's the thing that's interesting about this movie.
Okay.
I was quoting lines that are recited by Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah.
Academy Award nominee.
Not a winner, though.
Iconic movie star.
True.
Playing a character who is the showrunner of a TV show about teenagers. A very clear stand-in for Amy Heckerling, the writer and director of this film. The character she's speaking to is Mother Nature.
That's right. You followed that, right?
Right. If you, the listener, have not watched this movie, and I can't imagine this being a film you skipped watching before listening to the episode.
It's on Peacock.
You're hearing that conversation. Go, what? Is this her talking to a friend, a doctor? No. A physical human embodiment of Mother Nature, played by Tracy Ullman, in what I will say is one of the most normal movies we have ever covered on this podcast.
Dude. So, did you watch it with my wife, this movie? Because I watched it with my wife. Did you watch it with my wife?
Let me remember. Okay, so
Karen, did you watch it with my wife?
I watched it with your wife.
Okay, cool.
So
did she also ask you every 10 minutes, is that character a ghost?
Yeah.
Is she can anyone see her? Why is she there? Who is she?
I feel like only in the last 10 minutes of the movie does Michelle Pfeiffer go, you're a figment of my imagination.
And I had to go to Wikipedia and see that she's listed as Mother Nature and go like, oh, well, it doesn't make sense now, but at least I have some idea of what's going on.
She says it. She self-identifies within her opening monologue, but in a way that is so confusing that you assume she's making a joke.
Yeah, I figured she was just her hippie friend, and then I'm like, no, she's a ghost, or the embodiment of a natural person.
This movie opens with footage of animals, nature photography.
That's right, I forgot about that.
Of animals attacking and fucking each other. And then cuts to Tracy Ullman seemingly filmed on like the cameras they shot Jackass on in the middle of a forest, monologuing directly to camera as Mother Nature.
She's in like a white dress with like some leaves in her hair.
And they got this really soft green kind of glow around her. And then it just cuts to like, we're here making a teen TV show. And within 5 minutes, you're like, I have no bearings on what this movie is. Yeah. 10 out of 10. Perfect film. Thank you all for listening. Please remember.
You didn't say what the show is.
Oh, okay. It's Blank Check with Griffin and David. I'm Griffin.
I'm David.
I'm Karen.
Yes, she did it. I was like, is she going to remember to do that?
Queen of
Karen.
Of course you remember.
Oh my God. Welcome. Yes.
This is a podcast about filmographies. Directors who have massive success early on in their careers, such as making films like Fast Times at Ridgemont High and Clueless, and are given a series of blank checks to make whatever crazy passion projects they want. And then sometimes those checks clear, sometimes they bounce, and sometimes they give you a check and then you find out the check is like half of what you thought it was, and you have to make it under very weird circumstances, and then it sits on a shelf for 3 years and goes direct to Blockbuster.
That's what this, I will tell you, Karen.
That's what happened to this movie?
Yeah.
To my knowledge, this is the only instance of this in history. This was Blockbuster being like, fuck, Netflix is starting to gain a little
heat. It's when Blockbuster isn't exactly booming
How do we compete with them?
I was going to say, in 2007, did it go to one Blockbuster?
There were a few.
I just want to say this. This movie was filmed in 2005. It had planned theatrical releases from 2 different distributors canceled in 2006. Then someone new buys it, plans a release, cancels it again in 2007. And then in 2008, Blockbuster is heavily promoting that this is a only at Blockbuster film. Wow. This film does not exist in any physical form at that point in time other than you can rent it on a physical disc. You cannot stream it. You cannot rent it digitally. You cannot buy it. Now it is like available on other channels, but Blockbuster had the exclusive rental rights for this movie.
Well, it'd be weird if it was still only available at Blockbuster. You'd have to go to like that one that's in Oregon or whatever.
This movie would already be fascinating to talk about because it's unhinged and bizarre. And then you read just a little bit about the story of how it got made, and it's 3 years.
Is it Oregon or Oregon?
The state?
Yeah.
I say Oregon.
I say Oregon.
Oregon. Okay.
What were you saying? Oregon?
No, I said Oregon, but I'm like, sometimes I know people have a whole thing about how you say it.
Yeah, it's Aragorn.
Aragorn. And when he kicked the thing, he broke his foot.
Yeah.
You know?
I always thought it was Portland Strider.
That's pretty good.
Thank you. That's like an okay joke, right? Today we're talking about Amy Heckerling's 2005, scratch that 2006, scratch that 2007, scratch that 2008 release, I Could Never Be Your Woman.
You couldn't.
You couldn't.
You could never be my woman. A movie where the title references a song that's good but so old that I bought it on cassette when it came out. White Town's Your Woman.
Yes.
In 1997. I was like, I'm going to get my prepubescent ass to Virgin Megastores to buy this hot single on cassette, Griff. I owned it on cassette.
It is. Was it a single or was it
was
the
a
full album?
single.
It was a single.
Yes. It had like one B-side.
That was a single. We were just talking about right before this. David was mocking guests who are quiet during the levels check and then get really loud. And now within 5 minutes, David is yelling single at full volume.
That's right. I had the single. It's a good song. You know that song?
No.
Ah, for crying out loud.
Wait, was the song in the movie?
It is in the movie quite late.
Never be
That's
a
that
woman.
song. Oh, that's a good one.
I can never be a woman. Yeah, it's, that's what it is. That's what it's based on.
We are at the
song title.
20th
crazy.
anniversary of this film being shot, right?
Wow.
And when it finally came out in 2008, there's an incredible Entertainment Weekly article. And Heckerling says, like, this was my nightmare. This film is coming out 3 years late and all the references don't make sense anymore.
Right.
And I haven't tried to be a hyper-topical filmmaker in my life, but there are like 15 jokes that specifically now are meaningless. So then anytime there was like a music cue, I'd be like, okay, so was that a new release song at the time she was filming this? And you look it up and like a lot of them are 1998. So you're like, it's a movie shot in 2005 with a lot of pop culture references from 1998 that then came out in 2008. It's like 2 levels of disconnected.
Look, we're going to talk about it. Karen, you'd never seen this movie. Oh, who's our guest?
This is a miniseries on the films of Amy Heckerling. It's called Pod Times at Ridgemont Cast.
Mm.
And our guest today returning to the show is Karen Chee.
Yay!
The great Karen Chee. I forgot to ask if you
Yay!
want any specific introduction.
Oh,
but
no,
you
I
introduced
don't.
yourself.
Well, what
I
do you mean?
refuse to be introduced.
Queen Karen.
Queen
Thank
Karen.
you.
Queen of the
I don't
Bits.
know. What? Yeah.
So wait, I'm surprised you didn't rent I Could Never Be Your Woman from Blockbuster in 2008.
No, I should have. What was I doing?
Well, what were you doing? How old were you in 2008?
I was 13 in 2008. I was
Okay,
in
so
yeah,
you could
7th,
leave
8th
the
grade.
house.
Yeah,
You
I
had
was
a little
allowed to leave the
spending
house.
money,
You were
probably,
like
right?
Saoirse age. You were practicing slut-shaming parody songs in your bedroom
You're
mirror.
prank calling Henry Winkler.
I was being a slut and prank calling Henry Winkler.
Yeah. Being a
Yeah.
slut and making fun of pop stars for being sluts.
Yes, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Taking
yeah.
lessons from your mom on how to be a more effective slut.
I think their relationship is good in this movie.
There-
There's a lot of things in this movie that I was like,
David?
we're close.
I agree with you.
We're close to cooking.
I agree with you.
Yes.
And like, I feel a way about this movie that I wish I felt more about, like, let's say late period James L. Brooks, where I'm like, I can see it.
Now, Karen, wait, I don't want to blow up your spot, Karen.
Okay.
So
Please
I won't.
do.
So I'll be
No,
quiet.
what were you
So
gonna
last
say?
time you were on this podcast was
Yes.
for I'm a Cyborg, but that's okay. The Bong
Yes.
Joon-ho comedy, tragic comedy, whatever you want to call it. When was that, Griff? Like 2 years ago?
Yeah, sounds right.
Bong Joon-ho, what am I saying? Park Chan-wook. Jesus Christ.
Jesus
Mm.
Christ.
That was very offensive. to
Cancel
me.
David.
And you were like, I'm not a huge movie person.
Yeah, that's true.
Now you are a movie person.
Oh,
I
the
have
transformation
become
has happened.
deeply movie pilled.
Karen joined Letterboxd and she is logging. Karen is every week. There's 2 or 3 new logs, and like
Yeah.
broadcast news
I love broadcast
is
news.
something Karen logged
Yeah.
and was like, "Where's this movie been all my life?"
One,
You
one of the
mentioned
best
James
movies
L.
ever
Brooks.
made. One of my
Truly
10 favorite movies.
incredible.
But I don't know if you've seen the second half of his career.
I don't know. I'm
Probably
still
not.
Not sure what it means. Well, I mean, I understand what it means. I just don't know where in his career it falls.
I mean, the real follow-up, Spanglish is a film that Ben adores.
Mm.
Spanglish. Yeah.
Thank you for your contribution, Ben.
How,
Karen, you're welcome.
how do you know a Paul Rudd film?
Yeah.
Another kind of cursed production. Reese Witherspoon, Owen Wilson, Jack Nicholson's final film. He's got a new film coming out this year.
Oh.
Who does? Oh, James L. Brooks.
Yes.
Yes. It's called Ella McKay.
but, like,
Oh.
Broadcast news is so perfect
Yes.
that like my standards are so high every time he finally makes something new.
Mm.
And I watch it and I'm just like, the faintest glimmers. I can see it there, but how did this guy lose it? This feels like you can fully see the successful version of this movie.
Yeah.
It's just like surrounded in mania and chaos. But it's not even like, oh, fuck, that's like half a good scene. It's like all of the threads kind of make sense from a distance.
Yeah. I was just going to say, I think the biggest issue for me with this movie is that I think it would have worked better if Michelle Pfeiffer were less hot. right?
Look, Michelle Pfeiffer should be less hot,
Not
and
to
Paul
be
Rudd
rude.
should be less old. God bless Paul Rudd. I love you so much.
Yes.
Love you dearly.
Here's
Yeah.
right.
But
here- yes.
I have to imagine she needed a movie star to get this movie made, and she knew Paul Rudd very well, having made another movie with him, and that's how that all happened. I'll open the dossier and look to find out more. But certainly, a movie where Michelle Pfeiffer is stressed out about how young Paul Rudd is should not feature a seasoned 35-year-old Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
Like, I love Paul Rudd.
Well,
to be
here's the
clear,
crazier
and he's
thing.
the best part of this
Right.
movie, and
Yeah.
he's a funny man.
Here's this movie. If anything, if there's a central hook to this film, it's successful divorced woman in her late 40s falls for hot, charming, up and coming, struggling actor in his late 20s, and they navigate, can this relationship work despite the age difference and us being in different places in our careers, right? Michelle Pfeiffer ages beautifully.
Yeah.
She's a gorgeous
She had
woman.
aged beautifully at that time. She has
She's
continued to age
a
beautifully.
stunning, luminous creature.
Right?
Yeah.
But so in a movie, she's like, ugh, everything's falling apart.
Yeah.
You're like, God, what I would give for things to fall apart.
No,
like that.
instead, my wife and I are for 20 minutes like, how could she have been married to Lovitz?
Right.
What's this situation?
Love it.
Yeah.
Anyway, carry on.
Paul Rudd in this movie is supposed
Yes.
to be 29. That's like a twist. Oh my God, you're even younger
Maybe 28.
than I thought.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We all like to joke about Paul Rudd being immortal and aging so well, but he was 35 when they shot this. He was 38 by the time it came out. There is no part of him that feels like a 29-year-old. And like most brutally, this movie comes out 6 months after Knocked Up, which I think there's a dividing line there of like once Paul Rudd has been reframed in a movie as like he could be a family man,
Yeah, that's actually fascinating.
right?
What a weird career.
Was shot 2 years before,
When this movie
but like
ca-
when you've seen him raising Judd Apatow's children, you're like, this guy's not a boy.
Yeah.
For sure. But that also just reminds me that when Paul Rudd was in Knocked Up, a very good performance, the line on him was still like, no one's figured out what a movie star this guy is. And it's like a year later that we get like Role Models and then I Love You Man and stuff. And then it's like, okay, we finally realized.
Which
like
also-
Hollywood's finally
Big
realized.
part of that. I mean, like Apatow sort of saw it, and then Knocked Up finally gives him the juice to start like developing his own movies and co-writing them. I think that's the other big part of it is him not being slotted into shit and like working with his own collaborators or like helping make the movie.
Oh my God, there's so much to discuss. This film, do you know in Spain where this film was first released? This film is called El Novio de mi Madre.
Spain was, I think,
My mother's boyfriend is what it was called.
Hey, Spain's the only country where I think it got a theatrical release.
Wait, what? Why?
It was where it first got a theatrical
Okay.
release, not only. Yeah.
But a year earlier in
in 2007, it was released in Spain because the Spanish love, industry comedy, like insider sitcom axe grinding
They were
and
all
shit like that.
tracking- yeah,
yeah.
tracking
They're very,
suspense.
yeah.
I bought a Dutch.
And this movie does have the overlit insanity of an Almodovar movie.
Well, we're gonna get to that. I bought a Dutch Blu-ray of this movie because I believe it was the only country in which it was released in.
And the tariffs
Okay.
meant that was like $48.
I got in pre-tariffs.
Good job.
The benefit of us planning the show far in advance. But it's like I'm a dork who wants the physical media of the movies we cover in a like look
Right.
at the history of our show kind of way.
I remember this.
And
yeah.
it's used Blockbuster DVDs or Dutch Blu-ray. Nothing in between. Yeah, everything about this movie is fascinating. Karen, I had heard people referring to you as Kenny Chee recently, and I was confused as to why you had gotten that nickname.
Oh, wait. Who
But it's
said
because
that?
your logins on Letterboxd are through the roof. I didn't realize you'd become such a movie fan.
Wait, as Kenny Chee?
Kenny Loggins. I was saying that the
Oh.
nickname
You
is
just
Kenny
did the worst joke of all
because
time.
you're
No.
doing logins. I'm circling back to something David said 10
Here's
minutes
the
ago.
shocking thing is that my dad's name is Kenny Chee.
Is he really?
Yeah, I was
What?
like, who is calling me that?
Ken.
My dad loves Kenny G so much that when he immigrated to the US from South Korea, he named himself
Wait,
Kenny G.
whoa! He took the name Kenny in honor of Mr. G?
He doesn't understand why this is funny. Like I talk about it. I used to joke about this because he didn't
Is a bit of a
understand.
figure of fun.
No, he sincerely loves Kenny
Right.
G, the musician.
Did he love Kenny G in Korea? Like he was like arriving in America being like, if I know one thing, it's Kenny G.
Was Kenny G why he came to America? Was he like, the whole country must be guys like this?
Oh my God, imagine how disappointed he would have been. No, I don't think that's why, but he's like such a weird, goofy guy who's very sincere all the time and I think doesn't realize he's very funny.
Sounds cool. What does he do? What's your dad do?
My dad works in cargo for an airline company.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Cool guy.
One of my sons just did a big poop.
Oh.
I should read it aloud every time I get those texts. I get a text every time my children poop.
Oh, okay.
Not my daughter. At this point.
I do too, weirdly, and I keep hitting unsubscribe. And I keep getting them.
So what was I going to say? I could never be your woman. So Karen, you're coming. Oh,
okay.
Karen's
Let's go back to Karen.
Karen back to the show.
Right. Kenny Loggins.
Yeah.
Karen. Yeah.
But Karen's a cinephile now is the point.
You love cinema now.
You were on. You were like, here are the types of movies I'd love to come back on for.
Yes, yeah.
And you were throwing out a lot of children's films.
Right, which is fine.
I love kids' movies.
Yeah.
But you were like, when's the next animated thing?
Yes.
Like, are you going to do Paddington on Patreon?
Yes,
That's what you were pushing us towards to keep you in mind for.
Yeah.
But
And then I text you, we're doing Heckerling. She's done a lot of rom-coms and stuff, I imagine. And you're like, oh, Paul Rudd, we'll do this movie that no one's ever seen. And you love Paul Rudd. And Karen, you watched The Bakery Girl of Monceau?
I did.
Isn't it so good?
Yes.
You got to watch all those. You got to watch them all.
I gotta keep going through.
You're having to look at these logs. She's got True Grit, Saving Private Ryan. Which made you watch Saving Private Ryan?
Okay, here's what happened is my mom went back to school like a year and a half ago, and she's taking a U.S. history class, and on her syllabus, Saving Private Ryan was like a recommended watch.
Oh, yeah,
so she came home. I was visiting home. She came home from school and to my dad was like, do you guys want to watch a movie? And we were like, yeah, cute, movie night. She went, we're watching Saving Private Ryan.
Jesus. I mean, I like Saving Private Ryan. It's just not the chillest watch.
No, it was really intense, I would say. And we all cried.
It's maybe the most stressed I've ever felt watching a movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Look, great movie. But I mean, just look at this. This Aaron Brockovich.
Yeah.
Conclave.
I
Chantal
love
Ackerman's
Conclave.
News from Home.
Yes!
Like I love. I like it when a curveball like that
This
pops
is so
up.
fascinating because the streets kept on whispering the name Kenny Chee, and I said, Karen's dad, who works in cargo for airlines, and they were like, no, don't you know that's Karen's nickname now because she be Loggins.
That's a really good joke.
Thank
That's
you.
a really good joke.
Sometimes you just have to beat it and take a second pass.
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I wasn't smart enough the first time.
I told you.
No. I hit a level of truth I didn't understand, and I had to reframe the joke around it.
You're right. You're right.
So, I told you we're going to do this movie. You watched this film. What did you think of I Could Never Be Your Woman? Just initial impression. That's all. I just want to hear that.
It was so bonkers. I guess I have 3 initial impressions. One is it was so bonkers. 2 is Saoirse Ronan was incredible.
She's really lucked in.
so
It is kind of one of those things where like, damn, you lucked out with this casting. Like
It is her
99
first
out of 100. I know.
And it's like as wild and bonkers as this movie must have felt in 2008, with every passing year and the evolution of Saoirse Ronan's career, it becomes that much stranger that that's her. She's this good.
Yeah. She's so charismatic, like so
she
fun,
really is.
so
She's
charming.
She's great.
Yeah.
Saoirse Ronan is in this film.
But absolute disconnect from everything else for the rest of
Yeah.
she does this and then she immediately does Atonement and The Lovely Bones.
Wow.
Like she does 2 child performances that are like, yes, this is representative of who she will be as an adult actor. She gets an Oscar nomination for Atonement as a child.
Is her most Ladybird coded performance of the 3.
Yes.
She
wants to be called a different name.
That is true. She does debut that late in the film. It doesn't come up again. She's like, I want to be called Drew.
Weird Drew.
Yeah.
She's doing like Weird Al stuff.
Yeah. Anyway, so those are your first impression was bonkers.
Yes.
Second impression was Saoirse Ronan so good. What was your third impression?
The third impression was I was like, Amy Heckerling must have just watched Peep Show and been like, I want those people in my movie.
That was my brain started where I was like, oh, it's funny. There's an English actor.
Yeah.
Sarah Alexander, I know her. And then like it keeps happening where I'm like, why is everyone English? Like, is this like a trick?
Wait, Olivia Colman in it with no lines.
David Mitchell, obviously, Graham Norton, like, but like, and then you learn, okay, a lot of it was shot in Britain, and that helps you understand.
Believe because I was trying to watch closely. I believe this was shot entirely in Britain, other than
It's
like
like the-
second unit exterior.
Well, and they're
establishing
on the
shots.
lot that one time where I'm like, they
yes.
must have gone to the
Right.
lot for
I
that.
think they got like a day on the lot in
yeah.
between sound stages.
Right.
And then every other exterior shot of LA, you don't see actors in.
Right. And then
Any shot that is clearly real LA.
But all the sets, which were so, finely constructed and well lit, like they were locations, right? They were real places.
Your letterbox log. And for a second, I thought I was looking at Karen's page. And I said, is it at Kenny? But
no, keep bringing it back. It gets better every time.
Yeah, I don't know if that one tracks internally. But you said this film it was lit by Satan.
I mean, it's just insane. And, again, my wife, who is less, she's watching a film for story and dialogue and, character. But even she was sort of like, why does it look this way? And I was like, I don't know.
Right.
But I was saying to her, Clueless looks incredible. Like, obviously, the great Bill Pope shot Clueless. Great cinematographer.
Yeah, but do you know who shot this?
Brian Tufano, who shot Train Spotting and a lot of Danny Boyle movies.
And shot like Mike Lee and Ken Loach films.
So I don't know what's going on. My only theory was that Michelle Pfeiffer was like, you must bounce stadium lighting off my face at all times.
I think that is some of it, but I also think this speaks to sort of like the weird mania around this movie, the bonkers feeling, right? And it's just like, this is the kind of shit that like fucks up careers, right?
Right.
She's got the script she wants to do. Every studio is like, it's a comedy about a woman over the age of 40. Who wants to see that? She's like, I got Michelle Pfeiffer. They're like, Michelle Pfeiffer, she hasn't been in a movie in 5 years. We don't know if she's valuable. Some weird eccentric guy who we'll talk about deeply in a moment. Once we get to the dossier, is like, I love this script. I'll give you $20 million to make it right now.
This is true.
Provision.
That is why it got made.
You have to film the entire movie in Great Britain.
Wait, what?
And you get to these turning points. No, but clearly he found some tie-in of like...
Or he probably got a tax break or something. Yeah.
And this guy was I think, convicted for financial fraud both right before and right after this movie.
Jeffrey Epstein.
It was Jeffrey Epstein. No, this guy who we'll talk about.
Would be really, really, really weird if it was Jeffrey Epstein. That would be quite a twist.
That's the one thing that could make this movie more insane, is if Jeffrey Epstein financed it just because he liked the script about a movie about older women. These moments that like define someone's career where they're like, here's the great news. $20 million, you can make your movie. Stipulation, you have to film the whole thing in Britain. And you're like, huh. It's a Hollywood industry comedy that takes place mostly on backlots.
It's true. This is not the best studio. I mean, Britain has sound stages, but it is true that it is an LA comedy.
They don't call it sunny London town.
They don't.
And so I do feel this sense of a great cinematographer who didn't generally
shoot in LA,
but also didn't shoot like broad comedies. He's got a movie star who has like a lot of stipulations, probably about how she's lit and framed. And then they're just like, we need to overcompensate for shooting in a fucking drab, foggy town.
I guess so.
Let's direct the sun at them.
I mean, the full sun. It's like the space laser from Die Another Day is on them.
But it also, then you have this entire supporting cast that's like all British actors, because it's clearly like, okay, Amy Heckerling got to pick her like 6 regulars who they would fly over, right? And then every other part is played by someone from the UK.
It's 5. I think she gets Pfeiffer Rudd, Stacey Dash from Clueless. Have you seen Clueless?
I have seen Clueless. Yeah.
One of her more successful films.
Yes.
Stacey Dash is the best friend in Clueless. She plays the star here. John Lovitz and Fred Willard. I feel like those are the 5.
You're forgetting Wallace Shawn.
One great scene of Wallace Shawn. Yeah. You're not wrong.
But you have Twin Kaplan on the couch non-speaking. I think she was a producer on this.
Produced the movie, yes.
Right. So that's not...
But that's about it. I mean, even Tracy Ullman, as much as she's a Hollywood figure, that's a Brit.
It's why Saoirse ends up in this movie, I have to imagine.
Of course, because of child labor shit, right?
It's why the whole supporting cast is like, she has enough taste to be like, if I'm filming in the UK, who are like the 10 funniest on the cusp people of British comedy television?
That's true.
But it lends a very weird air to this movie where you're like, everyone just sounds a little off.
Do you like Britain?
Yeah, sure.
Cool. Have you been?
I have been. I was gonna say, I wonder because everybody is doing an American accent except for David Mitchell.
David Mitchell, who I think I probably just cannot.
Yeah, I was wondering. I wonder if there's like an audition tape somewhere where it's him trying his best to sound like he's from LA.
Guys, like he's so English. I just cannot imagine him pulling that off.
Voice is so English. Like, yeah, if he were nasally LA, it wouldn't work.
He has a detective show now. You know how like in Britain,
really?
like if you get to be, you hit your sort of late 40s, early 50s, you're in the mix for like a show where you go to some like gray beach and you're like, they killed the old mayor or whatever, right? You got to solve a crime. He's got one now.
Does he have a hook? Is there a gimmick?
I hope he has a hook hand. That'd be fun.
That'd be a good gimmick.
It'd be called Detective Hook. Detective show. It's just it's called Ludwig.
Ooh.
And he's, yes.
What?
He's a reclusive puzzle maker who publishes puzzle books under the pen name Ludwig.
This sounds incredible.
Oh my God, wait, this has way too much business. He has an identical twin brother who goes missing.
Played by him as well, I assume? Yep.
And so he has to pretend to be his brother. What?
Perfect.
And then he gets it. Bro, this sounds very busy.
Going. More.
Oh my God. Because, it's always like, Richard Griffiths plays like a meat pie
He
maker.
runs a pie shop.
Right.
He's a retired detective who runs a pie shop and people keep luring him back in for one more case.
Or there's this show, there was this British TV show called Rosemary and Thyme with Felicity Kendall and Pam Ferris, two lovely old lady actors who were gardening detectives.
Incredible.
Like they were like full-time gardeners, part-time. Oh, someone's dead in the bushes. We got to solve the mystery.
Wow.
This
Really
is
good
all
stuff.
Britain has.
There's also, I just saw like new release stills of Thursday Murder Club that's coming out later this year. That's also just like a cast of the cutest old British actors just solving a murder mystery together.
Here we go.
It's like Helen Mirren is in it.
Mirren Brosnan, who you just have to rattle
gotta
pennies in front of that guy and he will sign on. I swear to God. Ben Kingsley.
Can I sing? Will you let me sing in this one?
Fucking hell.
He's still singing
Jonathan
Mamma Mia
Price.
songs.
This sounds good.
It sounds amazing. I'm definitely gonna watch it.
Chris Columbus directed it.
Who directed it?
Chris Columbus.
Whoa.
Director of Home Alone.
Weird.
Not
and Christmas
Discoverer
Chronicles
of
too.
America. And Christmas Chronicles.
And one of the Harry Potter movies.
Two.
The first two Harry
Two.
Potter.
The first two.
Wow.
He did open the Chamber of Secrets.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because he speaks parcel tongue. It's a little joke.
There's a universe in which they go, hey, you have to film this movie in the UK. And she goes, well, Britain has a big television industry. I can make it about British people making a British show or one American woman running a British TV show. But it feels like this movie is so much her grinding axes with LA culture in particular and the like nature of the American show business like complex that the moment they're like, hey, we'll make your movie if you agree to film it in a place that will never look like LA.
Yeah, it will not really vibe. Yes.
Right. I just think she like should have put her foot down. Now, the tough question is, if that happens, does the movie never get made?
The movie probably never gets made, and she's probably like this, like you're sort of saying, this thing's already going to feel out of date soon. This is me going through my experiences of the late 90s. Let me talk about it a little bit in the dossier so we have the appropriate context. So Amy Heckerling's a filmmaker, American filmmaker, Karen. It's made Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Look Who's Talking, Clueless. Then she makes Loser with Jason Biggs and Mina Suvari. It's not a big hit.
And most relevant to this film, after the success of Clueless, she launches the Clueless TV show that runs for 3 seasons.
I didn't know there was a TV show.
And it's fairly successful.
You don't know that because we all agreed to forget about it.
Okay.
It did okay. It was a TGIF show.
It had 1 season as part of the TGIF lineup,
Right.
and then it moved over to UPN for 2 more seasons.
Bumped to UPN, which was a network back in the day
Yes.
that things would get bumped over to.
Stacey Dash reprised her role.
Yeah, some of the Clueless cast returned. Most of the stars did not. But then she makes Loser, which is a box office disappointment. And then Heckerling gets attached to a bunch of stuff. She was in negotiations to write a pilot for Tori Spelling. That didn't happen. Probably good. She was in talks to remake the serene fucking Japanese masterpiece Afterlife, the Koreeda movie.
Stunning discovery from
So
JJ.
good, which is a movie you would like if you've never seen it.
That's a great movie.
It's a movie about when people die, they go to like a waiting room where they have a week to figure out like what memory they want to take with them into the afterlife.
Oh my
basically by
God.
making a little movie. It is
Wait,
so cool.
do you know off the top of your head what memory you would take?
No, what the fuck?
Okay,
I need
sorry.
7 days.
Griffin, what about you?
I need 8 days.
You're screwed, Griffin.
My memories of this taping.
Yes. What if that was it? Ben loves it when we do applause bits.
I want to throw out it's so funny because you're just like, why was she gonna remake like Afterlife? And then when you describe it, like give it the 5-second pitch like you did to Karen right now, it does sort of make sense to go like, there is a wildly different version of that movie.
Yes.
There is like an ability to take that log line and turn it into like a 90s studio comedy.
I think
makes
so. Like
sense.
a sweet comedy.
And its own thing.
And its own thing. But that doesn't Fox was attached, but it doesn't happen. At one point she's announced to be doing a comedy pilot at ABC that was going to be kind of a Love Boat type show with like a lot of celebrity guests. She was announced in 2003 as the director of a film called Sweat, which was going to be a sort of shampoo style movie set in the world of personal training about like a Lothario who beds his clients. That never came together. Then she and Vince Vaughn are going to make a movie called No Place Like Home, where Vince Vaughn was going to play a cocky character. That's interesting. Who's upwardly mobile and has the world at his fingertips and a deep aversion to his parents, but he breaks up with his girlfriend and has to move into his family home in Long Island. Okay, whatever. Anyway, so that doesn't happen either. So instead, she's thinking about this movie that she makes while she's working on the first season of Clueless and raising her 10-year-old daughter, Molly, on her own in the mid-90s. Amy Heckerling was a single mom. And she's ambivalent because she's like, I'm working on this show. It's promoting these unrealistic standards of beauty. It's a bad show for young girls or whatever. Like, it's a bad, image. And I've got this kid. So that clash is what's animating her here, okay?
Which isn't an interesting setup for a movie, right? Like someone who is professionally continuing to perpetuate a fantasy version of high school life, then also going home and dealing with a real child. Where I'm like, that's actually
I would
the
love to see
most
that
interesting, unique kind of angle this movie has, and like a very personal experience where you're like, oh, she's the person to write this. No one else could tell this story. It does feel like that is kind of the least developed aspect in the final film, despite the fact that Saoirse's really good. I also just want a snapshot because I think it's kind of interesting. Like, Clueless is so big, right? It's like a surprise hit. And then when it goes on video, it sells like through the roof. It keeps getting bigger. They get this TV show on the air really quickly. Versus like Baby Talk, the Look Who's Talking show that she wasn't involved in, and Fast Times, which only ran for like 8 episodes. This is her third movie spawning a TV show, and she's more involved in this.
Right. She
is. And so she like only directed episodes in the first seasons, but like remained an executive producer on this, remained involved in it, which means that like in a way she is kind of losing the cachet from the success of Clueless by focusing on the Clueless movie or the series. Do you know what I'm saying?
I see what you
like,
mean.
She's having success in that she's running her own TV show,
right?
But she's also kind of letting the heat dissipate from the fact that she's coming off a hit movie. So by the time she cashes in and she's like, I'm ready to make another movie again, she makes Loser. It's a bomb. And now it's like the early 2000s and you're like, well, she's not totally dinged because she's made enough hits that she can keep attaching herself to big shit like this. But suddenly she's in this position where it's like, oh, Amy Heckerling hasn't had a hit movie in almost 10 years. Like, it's just kind of, the air is all out of the balloon, you know?
I'm going to skip all the Chris Kattan stuff. It's way too long. I'm not doing that right now. We have to discuss this movie. And also, just people can Google the Chris Kattan stuff. Amy Heckerling denies all of the Chris Kattan stuff. Chris Kattan has his... You guys got to just read that yourself. It's too much for me to get into, especially because it has nothing to do with this movie.
People theorize that this movie is about Chris Kattan, and I strongly do not think it is.
What would it... Oh, like Paul Rudd is supposed to be like Chris Kattan? Interesting. Right. I don't think so, no. I don't know.
Here, can I just say the 60-second version of it?
Yes. Yeah.
Chris Kattan and Amy Heckerling had an affair during the filming of A Night at the Roxbury, which she was executive producer on. That is uncontested fact.
Whoa. Okay.
What is contested is Chris Katana's book claimed that he was pressured by Lorne Michaels and the studio to have said affair in order to encourage her to direct the movie rather than just produce. And Amy Heckerling and his daughter have a very different series of events, and that he had an affair where he was cheating on Jennifer Coolidge, his at the time long-term girlfriend, who was also in Night at the Roxbury.
With Eliza Donovan of Clueless.
No, with Heckerling, and then cheats on Heckerling with Eliza Donovan. So he's sleeping with 3 different women.
Sounds more
on the
like
production
what
of this
Mango would
movie.
get up to.
And that the whole pressure thing doesn't really make
Mango.
sense because she was already working on the film, but they didn't really actually start to get to know each other until after the film was already in production, what have you. All of this is just
Amy
important
Heckerling's
to say.
response was, ugh, he's a nut, when she was asked about all this. And she was just like, I'm not going to comment. I
And
don't
Lorne
want
Michaels has been like, what are you talking about? There's just a lot of information out there. I'll let people go down the rabbit
It would be
holes.
funny if Lorne Michaels' official statement was, just that. Like he called the Times and
It
said
just
that.
needs to be
He's
acknowledged
quoted.
because this movie being such a like odd hidden object,
Yeah.
just sort of ignored. When people started being like, what is this thing a couple years ago? A lot of people jumped to the conclusions it's about her and Catan because they had an age difference. I don't think it is.
So she writes this movie. Nobody wants to make it because it's about an older female protagonist, and Hollywood isn't really that interested in it. But Michelle Pfeiffer gets her hands on it. Michelle Pfeiffer's career has also been slowing down. I would say post What Lies Beneath, she doesn't really have a big hit, right?
She does What Lies Beneath. She does I Am Sam and White Oleander, which were both sort of meant to be Oscar plays for her that didn't get her nominations.
Correct.
Gotcha.
She's good in White Oleander.
Yeah.
But it's not a good movie.
And she's good in I Am Sam, and it's not a good movie. I think she's good.
She's fine.
I mean, I always like her.
Is she
She-
Sam?
No.
No.
No. I Am
no.
Sam is the movie where Sean Penn plays a mentally challenged person.
Oh.
Who is
Uh,
raising Dakota Fanning, his
correct.
daughter.
Oh.
And she's now getting to the age where they think she's progressed
Intellectually.
beyond him intellectually.
Oh.
And Michelle Pfeiffer is the lawyer who's trying to fight for his rights to retain
Correct.
custody.
Oh,
but
this is so devastating.
it's a weepy.
Yeah.
It's not good. It's very bad. And Sean Penn's performance in it is one of those things where you're like, oh my God, like who allowed this to happen?
But he got an Oscar nomination, and it's the movie that like presented Dakota Fanning to the world and made her like the
Wow.
child star. So Michelle Pfeiffer kind of gets no bump from that movie.
Gotcha.
Well, she's also playing a character that she plays a lot in the 90s on, which is the sort of leggy pantsuited lawyer or workaholic lady who's like, I'm so gorgeous, but I'm so busy and no one will
Trying to
touch
hold it all
me.
together.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, it's so hard to be me. Like,
Yes.
I'm doing this because she's always like throwing cell phones and bags and stuff around because she's so busy.
Rolling her saucer eyes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so after those two movies,
But then White Oleander
She
was meant
plays
to be
a
a bit of an
psychotic
Oscar play
mommy
for
in
her,
White
and
Oleander.
it doesn't really go anywhere. And then she takes several years off.
several years off. And this is the next movie she makes. And she wants to make this movie, obviously, because it's a very big role, meaty, interesting, probably themes that appeal to her. Amy Heckerling's a real director. Philippe Martinez, a French producer, has a bit of a checkered past. He had served time in prison for fraud.
Oh. Whoa.
In France, though, where you get like baguettes and stuff.
Hey, cool.
I don't know if
cool.
you actually get baguettes. And he has a $200 million line of credit, so he claims. I'm not sure if he does. So he greenlights this film for a $20 million like budget.
Yes.
But
They were-
Heckerling
yeah.
does sense some red flags.
They basically, this guy gets out of French prison,
Okay.
shows up in LA in a chauffeured Bentley.
He's got a big cigar.
Smoking cigars, like storming into meetings saying like, I have $200 million to spend. People show me scripts.
Wow.
And this is like one of his first big moves. And Heckerling's basically said that as the movie was filming, she kept getting told that the budget was lowering. She was like, this guy said he had $200 million and was giving me 20 comfortably for this film. And suddenly the number keeps going down week by week. So like the movie is shrinking as they're making it.
He makes them film it in London, which is a problem. Indeed, he does keep saying the budget is going down.
Wait, sorry. So it started off being $200 million?
No, he said he had $200 million
I see, I
to
see.
put towards film financing.
Then he started
Okay.
saying he had $100 million, which is less.
And it is
Still
less.
a lot.
By the time this movie finally came out,
Yeah.
he said he was $100 million in debt.
Oh, no.
So somehow within 3 years, he went from I got 200 to spend to can someone borrow me 100 so I can get back to zero?
So Michelle Pfeiffer's paid $1 million.
Which is well below her quote.
Below her quote, but she will also get between 10 to 15% of the film's first dollar grosses.
Wow.
Which is very unusual to be giving them actual money versus profit.
But this is right. This is
a bit of a problem.
A movie financed entirely by some maverick outsider who's willing to do that in order to secure a bigger star who usually would probably take that budget to $30 million on her own, right? If they're paying her full salary.
Heckerling is also promised some
This later becomes the beginning of the end for this whole movie. It's going to be a huge issue. Yeah.
The film is then put on the shelf. It apparently tested well. I'm not sure where they tested it. No offense. And then they're like, we're not releasing this if Michelle gets 15% of the gross.
They screen it. MGM agrees to acquire it. Then they find out about this deal. They crunch the numbers and they're like, we estimate the movie's going to make this amount. And if we have to give away Michelle Pfeiffer that much, then we don't want to do it. It's not worth it. So they just hand it back.
Oh my God.
Yes.
They spend a year trying to find a new distributor.
At that point, Mr. Martinez has no money, if he ever had any money.
He's got negative money.
So he sold the DVD rights to the Weinstein Company, a normal and good company that does normal things.
But he does that first while trying to find a new theatrical distributor.
Yes.
Then he finds this company, Freestyle Releasing, that was very much kind of the catch-up entertainment of its day. Where it's like, do you just contractually need to get a movie out in theaters? We're like a distributor for hire. They agree to do it. They announce a release date in 2007. It's going to be released on 1,500 screens.
Freestyle Releasing.
And then like weeks before it's going to come out, they pull it off the schedule.
Correct.
Because they found out that they didn't have DVD rights, which hadn't been told to them. And at that point, DVD is still really big. And they're like, if we don't have DVD, then we don't want to fucking release this movie.
Heckerling calls it like cutting the legs off of a baby and then being like, take my baby. It's still cute. Just kind of a gruesome thing to say.
Yeah.
So instead, it came out in Spain. Andale!
Was it a hit in Spain?
It grossed $9.5 million globally.
Okay.
Which isn't very good, but it's not nothing.
Yeah. I wouldn't say no to that amount of money.
Well, lucky for you right here. I have a check here for you for $9.5 million.
He's been waiting for someone to say that they wouldn't say no. He's had the check on the desk for years.
So it came out direct to video in 2008.
Weinstein makes the Blockbuster deal. And that is the ultimate fate of this movie. Yeah.
And Paul Rudd said he felt bad. It's a real shame. He was afraid some of the jokes would feel stale if it, got...
was right.
Yeah. Sure. The film got poor reviews and is forgotten, I would say. Until a little podcast called Blank Check decided to focus on it.
I was going to say, it's hard to say it's forgotten if most people never knew it existed.
Sure.
Right.
It's not really known.
It's not really known. Nathan Rabin did a piece on it for his My Year of Flops series years ago.
What did he give it? Fiasco, flop, or secret success?
I believe he gave it a secret success.
Sure.
And said, like, this is much more of a movie than I thought it would be. You can see the kind of shape of it. This is Amy Heckerling. She's like a personal filmmaker.
Wow.
It's not perfect.
Yeah.
But there's like stuff in it, which is certainly how I feel. Like, I don't know if I can say this movie is good.
No.
But
I don't think I can.
Frustrating how much good stuff there is in it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff in it that I thought was a good idea.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And even like things that are executed well, but then there's stuff where you're just like, the lighting alone is knocking every single element of the movie down a star at every moment.
It's tough. Execution is lacking here, I would say. The film there's an execution issue, Griffin. Things like Tracy Ullman's character Mother Nature, who is never explained, serves no plot purpose.
Yeah.
Doesn't really jive with the story. I don't know.
I need to correct myself. The opening credit sequence goes from nature photography and then just hard transitions to plastic surgery.
Yes, that's
you're
right.
right.
That's right. Because it's like, these days everyone's getting plastic surgery. I'm Tracy Ullman. I won't explain it anymore.
Yeah.
And
Old ladies are worthless. Fuck you.
And then she's not like, let's meet our.
You're right. You
because there could be kind of a Greek chorusy, like
the narrator throughout the film.
Wish everyone could be like me, covered in leaves, but instead here we are in LA. Yes?
No, I was gonna say no. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm listening.
I was just gonna say that one of the weirdest
Sorry
parts
that I
of the
said yes so aggressively to you.
No, it was
damn
really
it, clear
supportive.
jets.
I really appreciate it.
Really?
Yeah.
You call that support?
Sort of Vincent Price style. Yes.
Tracy Ullman, the weirdest part of the Mother Nature bit is like there's no consistent visual vocabulary, I guess. So at one point when she shows up, everybody else then freezes in time. Whereas before that, when she showed up, they were still continuing in time.
Right, and it's more like she's a great kazoo no one can see or
The
whatever.
rules of her function within the movie change basically every scene. As you said, sometimes she has Zach Morris powers, can freeze the whole movie and comment on it. Sometimes she is narrating just to us, the audience, down the lens.
Right, and then sometimes she talks to Pfeiffer.
Right.
Yeah.
Other times she's like Pfeiffer's like fucking Paul Bettany in Beautiful Mind, where you're like, is she having a mental breakdown?
Where did she get those damn chips?
Great
Oh,
question.
so she's eating
That's
She go to
chips
the
or something.
store. No one could see her.
Do you think a bag of chips is floating next to Pfeiffer and she's like
I
talking to
wonder.
them?
The imaginary supermarket?
I wonder if she can digest
you, Griffin.
stuff.
Thank you. But yes, it
can
is.
she digest stuff? Well, let's send an email. Tracy@ullman.com.
You're like, any one of those three things could work.
No,
Could.
I guess.
Could.
Yeah.
It is very confusing when it's jumping back and forth between them and you don't get what it is.
the extent to which this lifts out of the movie. The movie's 97 minutes long. Feels long. You lose Tracy, we're getting closer to 90 minutes. Just get her right out of there. It almost feels like she has this idea and then Tracy Ullman will do it. And then there's this sort of obligation of like, I got Tracy Ullman.
Yeah.
Like she's, even though it's the late 2000s and Tracy Ullman isn't quite as hot as she was, it's still like, oh, you got Tracy Ullman. You got to use her.
There's also famously a movie we've covered on the show, Death Becomes Her, where Tracy Ullman had a major subplot and 25
cut
minutes
out.
of footage, and they
Right.
just went bloop. Like there are other movies that have straight lifted
So
Tracy
maybe she
Ullman.
was so sensitive about getting lifted out of a movie.
She had a no lifting clause in her
Oh.
contract.
Can't lift me.
Yeah, it's called the dead weight clause.
Do you like Tracy Ullman? Does Tracy Ullman mean anything to you?
I don't think I really know much of Tracy Ullman.
I'm going to be honest. Like I don't either because
A
her
little
peak-
interesting, as someone who grew up
as a
in both
Brit.
New York and London, that Tracy Ullman means nothing.
Well,
to me.
it's not like
you
she
were
means
the target
nothing.
audience.
Yeah.
Well, but I'm a little too young for her. Like I think her sort of like TV show, like the Tracy Ullman show and Tracy Takes On, that had all peaked by the time I was a kid.
We both came after our
and she was
peak.
still around.
That's the difference. I think when we were young, she was still around. And Karen, you're just enough younger than us that she basically doesn't exist in your purview.
Gotcha.
like HBO kind of treated her like they treat Bill Maher now. I'm not talking in terms of politics, but in terms of there were like, she's in the HBO family as long as she wants.
Whatever
to.
she
Right.
wants to do.
If she wants to take a shit on stage,
Right.
we will run an Emmy campaign for that. Like
Yeah.
it is whatever she wants.
Right.
Yeah.
She had 10 years of like HBO, like free reign, combined with she was still popping up in movies at that time.
Right. She
She'd
would
do
pop up
supporting
in a
roles and
movie.
stuff. But then basically I feel like by the year like 2000, she really slows down.
But like it was one of those things like the Tracy Ullman show, which I've never really watched. It had the Simpsons came out of the Tracy Ullman show famously. It was the animated.
They were like, oh, we
Wait,
should.
wait,
sidebars.
They were like, we
Yeah.
should have animated interstitials on this
Yes.
on this sketch
Yes,
show.
Karen.
Wait, and that became The Simpsons?
Yes, Matt Groening was like, I don't know, Homer. Like it literally, it was
This-
kind of that.
It's
That's
even
incredible.
It's
crazier
all
than
part
that.
of the lore.
James L. Brooks. Everyone was trying to like make an American sitcom for Tracy Ullman. And
Okay.
James L. Brooks was like, no, she needs an old school variety show. Fox has just started. He marches in. He's like one of the most legendary TV creators. He's like Tracy Ullman sketch show. They surround her with like an all-star cast, including several of the voices from The Simpsons. Dan Castellaneta,
Wow.
Julie Kavner. And they're like, we want to make this variety show. It should have animated segments. There are two of them. The other one was Tracy's pick. I forget what it's called, but was a flop. And then James L. Brooks was like, I like this weird cartoonist from Oregon.
Aragorn.
This is true.
And Tracy Ullman was like, I don't like this Simpsons shit. And the Simpsons immediately like hit and turned into a spinoff. She didn't want to voice one of the Simpsons because she was like, I don't like this. And then years later, she sued
Because she's
for
like, I
a percentage of the Simpsons profits.
Right. I assume she didn't get it.
She did not.
That's
Um,
incredible.
the thing about
But that
Tracy
is
Ullman,
a sort of like changing of the guard moment where it's like, The Simpsons are the biggest things in America now, and Tracy Ullman gets to do her stuff on HBO.
I want to say this with all due respect to Tracy Ullman, who I understand is a bit of a pioneer and a trailblazer for women in comedy. And I guess women are allowed to stay in comedy. Not if I had my way.
Oh, okay. Gotta stop clapping.
No. And I think Tracy Ullman is funny. I have seen her be funny in things. Robin Hood Men in Tights, she makes me laugh.
Yeah, she's really funny in that.
Whenever you watch those kind of comedy talk show, clip show, sort of like retrospect, where they're like, oh, and the Tracy Ullman show was so good. Like, it was, and she had her character, like, Mrs. Whatever. And then she's going like, it's me. And I'm just like, was this funny? Like, this doesn't look that funny.
I'll say this too.
Sometimes you watch old comedy and you're like, brilliant. Like it works. And then sometimes they're like, oh, mind your feet. And you're like, Jesus.
She played.
Is she funny? Just tell me.
I think she's funny.
Okay.
I think she's really big, right? Like Tracy's like huge, unsubtle energy. And I think that when it's 5 degrees off, it's like insufferable. I think when Tracy Ullman misses, it's rough. I don't like watch classic Tracy Ullman. And
it's funny that we're talking this much about a character who's in the movie for 5 minutes.
I don't watch.
He's not relevant.
I don't watch classic Tracy Ullman and like fucking Rafflecopter on the floor. But I do think she's funny. But I'm also like, I've seen her like strike out, and especially in things like movies where you're just like, when she had her own TV projects and she could build an entire universe around her, and it's just showcasing her. You're like, this is impressive as like just a style of performance. And then sometimes when you drop her into a movie like this and you're like, she is not harmonizing with anyone else. She is just doing her own thing in a very specific register. I don't think she's bad in this, but like it just adds to the chaos of this movie where the element is so strange.
She does not matter to this movie. The movie is about a character called Rosie, played by Michelle Pfeiffer, who's the showrunner of a bad sitcom called You Go Girl, where the joke is that all the actors, Ben hated this movie so much. Oh my God, look at his face.
Ben is crying.
Look who's talking now.
Stacey Dash plays the lead actor, and the joke is like everyone's too old, right? Like
Stacey Dash was
kind of the
90s when they shot the Clueless movie. So she's on the Clueless TV show into her early 30s, and then this movie is almost 10 years after that. So the joke is right. She's like 40.
But it's sort of the same thing with her. She's actually too old. Like you're watching this and you're like, who on earth would think Stacey Dash could be a teenager? Like, and I sort of get the joke of like, oh, it's heightened, I guess. But I couldn't really get there.
Also, is it the other
guy? It
guy?
makes the whole thing feel like a dream you're having like on drugs.
There's no grounded reality. There's no like consistent reality.
Even though it's supposed to be about this sort of grounded thing of this woman's trying to claw out some romance and life, and she's mothering and it's hard, but then it's like she lives in cuckoo land, and I feel like I'm on fucking Xanax watching this movie or something, because everything's just kind of like vibrating and everyone's a little off.
It is a weird fever dream movie. Like it has that kind of like old dog's chaos to it.
A great example being when Paul Rudd's character is introduced. So Paul Rudd plays Adam, the young actor they cast in a guest role who becomes a sort of breakout star, and then she starts kissing him. He comes into the audition and then he like is jerked sideways like a cartoon.
Yes.
And they all go, how do you do that? And then he comes back in, but it's not addressed.
It's a Johnny Dangerously gag.
Right. It's like this crazy sort of out of proportion physical humor. But nobody even says if that was, did she imagine that? Did he actually do that? It doesn't seem possible.
Paul Rudd is an incredible physical
Very
comedian.
funny physical actor.
And he can do shit like that in a movie and be like, this is this character doing this. It's not betraying the laws of gravity in this film, right? This is a guy who can do goofy movements. The way that moment plays out in the film, he is clearly rigged by wires.
Right.
It is not something a human being could do.
And also, when it first happened, I was like, oh, this is going to come back in some
He'll do it
satisfying
again.
way.
Right.
And it never is
mentioned. Because they call it out as like, this guy has a superpower.
But they call it out like, how do you do that? And then they don't ask him or talk about it again.
Yes.
And it's a great example of what I'm talking about in this movie, where you're just like, I feel like someone needed to figure that out.
You know what it is I feel like this movie, it reads as though, you know, when you're like filming something and you do the take as written and then you're like, you know what, just do one for fun, and then they just stitch together all the for fun takes.
It's
Absolutely.
heavy on, and sometimes it's funny.
Yeah.
Like, look, the highlight of this movie is something that has lived on in GIF form to audiences that don't know what it's from.
Zero idea.
Which is Paul Rudd dancing around like a lunatic at the bar, which is so funny out of context because Paul Rudd dancing around like a silly guy. It feels like Celery Man or whatever.
Yeah.
From I Think You Could Leave.
There is...
No, what's it called? Jesus, Tim and Eric.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it was for...
Where like him just going like, is funny.
Yeah, I think it was either for Role Models or I Love You, Man. And as you're saying, the 2008 year where like Paul Rudd figures it out. He figures out his movie star leading man thing. Where he went on Conan. Paul Rudd's Conan appearances, of course, just like all bangers. But they play whatever music. I think they play Badlands to his entrance. And Paul Rudd just like, rather than sitting down on the couch, starts clapping and then starts dancing. And he and Conan dance for like 3 minutes.
That's so charming.
And it's so charming. It's one of my favorite clips. And watching this film for the first time, I was like, oh, 5 of the moves he does in Conan are direct quotes of this.
Gotcha.
Where it almost felt like he knew I did really fucking dancing in that movie and no one saw it. I gotta find a way to reproduce those dance moves in a medium that people will actually see. But it's yes, the dancing is incredible.
It's really funny.
Can we talk about Paul Rudd a little bit
funny that,
in a focused way?
Yes, we can. But first I want to ask about the dancing. So I see that and I want to fuck him. Like, and I'm saying, like, I want to get him naked and have sex with him. I'm not saying, like, oh, I want to fuck him like I'm on Twitter. Like, no, it's hot.
Yeah.
Would Michelle Pfeiffer want to fuck him after watching that? Because in the movie, she does. But Michelle Pfeiffer still almost feels a little too classy to be like, oh, you goofball.
I'll repeat an anecdote I said just like 2 episodes ago. My gay friend was testing how straight I was, thinking that he could maybe talk me into hooking up. And he said, like, you don't find any guys attractive? Like, if you could fuck one guy, who would it be?
Yeah.
And I said, Paul Rudd. And he went, oh, you are straight.
Really?
Yeah. But I had the same thing where I'm like, Paul Rudd is in my mind, I'm like, that's the most attractive guy.
And
that is exactly what I wish I could look, sound, move, and think like.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, that's the masculine ideal is Paul Rudd.
I actually bet Michelle Pfeiffer, I bet that did turn her on.
Because it's supposed to.
Also, because he's
just so loosey-goosey, silly guy.
So loosey-goosey and so, like, inviting and so, like, doesn't care about social norms.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I also think this movie makes him kind of dumb in a way that is weird. Like, I think when Paul
oblivious.
Rudd...
mega oblivious.
Here's the thing that I think Paul Rudd is really good at. Is, like, certain comedy stars who then need to have a love interest. And you're like, this beautiful actress would not be attracted to this guy, even if he looks like a movie star, because he's behaving like a maniac, right? Like, if Maura Tierney has witnessed the way that Jim Carrey behaves in Liar Liar, she can never see him as a sexual creature ever again. Now, it's a broad comedy, and it doesn't need to be based in that sort of reality, but you're just like, I don't know if she sees him as, like, a viable option, right? Paul Rudd can do shit. And it probably has to do with the fact that, like, he became a comedy star in a moment when the broad high concept comedy was going away and things became more relationship and conversational, whatever. But something like the slapping the bass scene in I Love You, Man, which is so funny. And it's just Rudd doing a riff for like 4 minutes and moving weird and making weird voices. I watch it and I'm like, I still think Rashida Jones is going to fuck him in 30 minutes. He is a goofball, but in a way where you're like, this is the way that like people pick people up at bars. You know, like this is the way where people are like, man, women love a guy with a sense of humor. Like if he looks like Paul Rudd and he can commit to the bit this hard and he's this affable and he gives the smile at the end of it, you're like, fuck, it's kind of hot, right? This movie makes him dumb, though, in a way where when he does those sorts of bits, and I think part of it's probably the disconnect of him being 35 and playing 29. And if he was 29, it would register as just kind of like puppy dog cluelessness. And at 35, you're just like, is this guy a moron?
Right.
Karen, what do you want to say?
Oh, I was going to say, well, it was weird because when the first or second time he shows up, he like throws a jelly bean at the assistant woman's butt.
He does. That's another sequence that I was like, is this a dream?
Yeah, why? It was so off-putting that I think if he had been even 5% less handsome, I would be like, I hate this guy. But he only gets away with it because he's Paul Rudd, and you choose to forget about that scene.
But it doesn't really track with how the character later behaves.
Exactly. That's
He's
what I
kind
mean.
of a gentleman for the rest of the movie.
Yes, he's so thoughtful. I think that is an example of a scene where, like, the last take they did, he's like, this is going to be funny. I'm going to do it. And they're like, we're going to keep this take for the movie.
Or they're like, we have to roast low-rise jeans. Like, we must. And so this scene's got to make it in, Ben.
Maybe he made the jelly bean on the first shot. Because it's impressive.
It is
to get
impressive.
right in the
There's
crack.
no way. It
that big.
absolutely has to be rigged.
This sequence has like 5 setups in it. It's not just like he walked into a wide shot,
You're saying
threw a
it's like
jelly
when
bean
Liam
for fun,
Neeson
and was
goes over the
surprised.
fence in Taken, and there's
Yeah.
like 18 cuts.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, this was like a thing that they had like a stunt supervisor come in.
Yeah.
They had storyboards.
Yeah, a jelly
There
bean
was
coordinator.
previs. Like, this is a constructed sequence. And then she stands up, and you think the joke is like, oh, she's got a jelly bean in her ass crack, and she's not even aware. And she turns around and is like, next time aim higher. Or says like,
It makes no sense because she was turned around. So it's like, next time aim on your back? Like, what? What?
it's so strange.
And despite that, she then is so desperate to fuck him, she resorts to multiple Photoshop crimes.
Yes.
to
Sarah Alexander, who's a wonderful actor.
So Sarah Alexander,
And in this film is playing the role of Thanos.
she's not very sympathetic in this film.
This is like, maybe, I know we covered Schindler's List very recently on this podcast, but I'm going to say this is in the top 10 least sympathetic characters we have ever had to discuss on this show.
So Sarah Alexander is a very big part of my life because I grew up in Britain. I forget if Karen knows that, but I did grow up in Britain, and she was on Smack the Pony and like Green Wing, and Coupling was her big thing.
She was kind of the British Jennifer Aniston. Is that it?
No? Well, the whole thing that happened with Coupling, which was a sitcom that aired on the BBC, was that everyone was like, this is the British Friends, and it's going to be brought to America, and they'll do an American coupling so that like we'll have a new Friends, because Friends was coming to an end. Speaking of Paul Rudd. And famously, the American version tanked and lasted like 2 episodes or whatever.
Right.
But Sarah Alexander was sort of the Rachel of Coupling.
Okay.
But Coupling was never a Friends size thing.
Okay.
And I would say stuff like Smack the Pony and Green Wing. I know when you say Smack the Pony, you truly do sound like a stereotype of someone talking about Britain.
When you say Smack the Pony and Green Wing.
Yeah, Green Wing is
worse
good.
when you say both of the credits.
You would really like Green Wing. Green Wing's really funny.
I believe it. By the way, I think she's a great actor.
Smack
I'm
the
a
Pony,
big fan of hers in everything I've ever seen her do other
funny.
than this.
She's very funny. Smack the Pony was
Sally Phillips.
a sketch comedy show spearheaded by the great Sally Phillips that was, I mean, again, it was one of these like women do comedy now experiments. Green Wing was a more sort of focused thing. Sally Phillips is also in Green Wing. That was like sort of a sitcom set in a hospital, but had like a lot of surreal elements. Very, very good. She's not, Sarah Alexander, I think a bit undersold by this movie.
A little, you think a little bit?
A little one-dimensional as a character. And it is one of those things, not to talk about women writing things or whatever.
Go on.
Where I'm like, you're creating this sort of 3-dimensional character in Michelle Pfeiffer that's like about your experiences, right? That really has like flaws and is interesting. You know, like that's the idea. But then like there's literally like an evil shrew, like young bitch character who's so evil that they grab each other's hair and have a cat fight for a second, where I'm just like, is this setting us back a little bit with your complex female protagonist to have her around? Like, is this good, Amy?
It feels like the Bridezilla assistant moment in Jurassic World.
Sure.
Where I'm like,
favorite moment.
Someone did something to you.
Yes, I felt the same way.
Yes, it does.
Everything about this character is you settling some score.
Yeah.
What was your take on Sarah Alexander's character, Jeannie?
Well, it was weird because I felt like Michelle Pfeiffer's character was set up to be a person who would be looking out for her.
Sure, would be like, hey, you want to make stuff?
Yeah.
I'll help you.
And then it kind of seemed like that in the beginning, but then immediately they just became enemies in a way that felt very stereotypy.
Here's the quickest overview of this character's quote-unquote arc, right? I believe we are first introduced to her shooting a line of dialogue for the TV show. So I'm like, oh, Sarah Alexander is playing an actress on the TV show. Then the next time you see her, it's Michelle Pfeiffer walking to her office and saying, hey, bad news, they cut your line of dialogue. And you're like, oh, this is her secretary who's trying to get a leg up, get in front of camera, and she's been foiled again. Then the next 20 times you see her, she is like pulling reverse Parent Traps, doctoring images, playing games of like telephone to trick people into thinking that everyone's cheating on everyone else and saying bad things about everyone else and trying to seduce everyone into her web. It takes Michelle Pfeiffer the entire movie to figure out, maybe she's a bad person. Which she does in a sequence that's like Guy Ritchie, Sherlock Holmes. Like we literally go inside
into
her brain,
her mind palace.
and her synapses fire, and she replays all the moments in her mind like she's figured out who Kaiser Soze is. And then, yes, they like pull each other's hair after she walks in on her.
And Fred Willard is like hot.
Yes,
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
She do be blowing Fred
She
Willard.
walks into Fred Willard's office and says, you need to fire her right now. Fred Willard stands up from his desk, buckles his pants, and goes, well, that's going to be difficult. And she goes, why? Unclear why she can't just fire her.
Right.
Why she's asking the head of the network to fire.
It's her personal assistant.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then Sarah Alexander comes out from underneath the desk and they catfight.
Yeah.
And Fred Willard is turned on.
It does feel like somebody who Amy Heckerling tried to once help wronged her, and now the moral of the story is never help any woman younger than you.
Right.
Never. They'll just Photoshop your ass.
Wait, but so good at Photoshop. I was genuinely impressed.
That's the thing. Someone should take advantage of this person's skills.
Yeah, she should be in graphic design.
Exactly. Get her over to some other department. She can Photoshop Paul Rudd in your car in a traffic cam or whatever.
She hates Stacey Dash, presumably because she's the lead on a TV show instead of her.
Sarah Alexander, you mean?
Yes. So she starts Photoshopping her head on less flattering images.
Right. First, she's doing that. That's right.
Just making like printout memes for fun and showing them to people, being like, look at this mean Photoshop I made. Then one day, she is sitting at her desk, Googling naked pictures of Stacey Dash.
Yes.
She finds a porn like nudecelebrities.org website.
Which I think is not, well, who knows? Whatever.
It looks like a fake website.
Right.
An image that is clearly photoshopped where she is not naked, right? Where it is just Stacey Dash holding a towel, but clearly her head photoshopped onto a different body.
Exactly, yes.
Then she notices that Paul Rudd has left, or the props guy comes in and goes, I accidentally took Paul Rudd's real phone. Sarah Alexander takes out his flip phone, takes a picture of the screen so that Michelle Pfeiffer will think that he was in bed with her.
I'm not yawning because this is so boring.
Why was she on the website in the first place?
I don't know. It's not very, very clear. And it also kind of could also lift out of this movie because the movie's real conflict is whether or not, I guess, whether Michelle Pfeiffer can handle dating someone who's a lot younger than her, is at the start of his career versus where she's in her career. She's got a kid. Whatever. This is the sort of rich emotional content of the movie that is mostly not addressed.
There. Also, just like you watch this, you're like, there's actually no movie I can think of that actually kind of represents what like being a TV showrunner is.
Right, and it does do a good job of all the bullshit she's getting asked about, and sure,
there's enough to work with there.
But here's how the movie mostly addresses the age gap: is kind of them in the car, and Michelle going like, "How old are you?" And he's like, "Oh my God." She's like, it's kind of young. Like, that's basically it.
Right.
Yeah.
And Sarah Alexander will like perpetuate lies, will like trick him into trying to fuck other people, tell Michelle Pfeiffer that he's trying to fuck her, try to convince him truly to fuck her. Like, she's working like 20 angles.
It's weird.
Just an absolute agent of chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If
we just had the two things where it was like the A plot was her and Paul Rudd and the B plot was her and her daughter.
Yeah.
That would have been a great movie.
Whole movie.
So, right.
And obviously, regular check-ins from Mother Nature or something.
Right. Yeah,
maybe
you must
every
have that.
more of her every 2 minutes.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm still here. All right. I'll
I got
see you later.
Fritos this time.
Right.
So the best stuff in this movie is her and her daughter, for sure. That is the stuff that basically all just, possibly because it's very lived in, because she raised a kid at that time who was this age. It just feels like not cheesy.
Yeah.
The daughter's interests feel like sort of appropriately kind of in that blurry, like pubescent kind of like she's still like some kid shit. She likes, she's starting to get interested in more grown up shit.
Yeah.
Sure. Sometimes she dresses like My Chemical Romance.
No,
Right.
Sometimes she dresses like Avril Lavigne.
She dresses like David Foster Wallace.
That's also true.
I lost my mind.
the bandana and the yes. Oh my god. I hope my daughter has a David Foster Wallace phase.
This is another thing.
Just fashion wise.
Yeah. Good clarification.
Yes.
Really bad at writing.
Yes. I hope she stinks at writing.
Unlike David Foster Wallace.
Thank you. Right. Yes.
No.
Saoirse Ronan plays her daughter, of course, whose name is Izzy, although later she wants to be called Drew. That is not explained.
Okay. What I was going to say.
What were you going to say?
Is that.
Tell us. What were you going to say?
Tell Karen first and then tell me.
Okay.
And then tell Ben.
Karen, relay this to Ben and David. A thing that feels very specific in this film that I like, and Heckerling's talked about this, is like she was this dark, cynical, pessimistic New York girl who made Clueless, which was this sort of experiment for her, starting out writing these people in a way that she thought was satirical.
But Clueless is her, can I make a sunny movie?
And then she starts to like fall in love with these characters. And she's like, this is so far off from me. I like the thought experiment of imagining being this optimistic, this positive, this sunny, this bright, and then likes living in that world. She moves to Hollywood. She's a Hollywood player, right? But now she's raising a young girl who is more like her, who is this kind of like oddball, alternative, dark girl who, while she is spending her days making like the most candy-coated teen show possible. So it's not just that there's like the reality of the difference of the two. It's also like them being on a very similar wavelength, what she does for a living being on a different wavelength, and her trying to balance these two notions of like what a modern young woman is. All of that's interesting on paper.
Yeah, there was a scene that I thought like could have potentially been incredible. Like the beginning of it really tugged at my heartstrings where they're like trying on clothes at the store and the daughter, Izzy, is like, oh, this doesn't look good on me because I'm ugly. Like, I'm ugly and you're beautiful, Mom. And I was like, I bet this is a real thing. And like, I feel like as a young girl, I always thought I was like the ugliest person in the world. And like, it's a conversation that girls have with their moms often. And
because that's the intimate setting of the mom dragging your mom to the mall or whatever.
Right. Or like feeling like you're compared to your mom, maybe subconsciously. And then instead of doing anything with it, Michelle Pfeiffer just goes, no, I'm ugly. Look at me. I'm hideous. And she's like sitting with perfect posture looking gorgeous.
Which is kind of funny, but you're right that we're exiting any deeper resonance.
Yes.
Because it is also funny when Saoirse Ronan is like, my stomach is so fat.
Yeah, and you're like,
Ronan's
what?
Fey little child.
Unbelievably
but
adorable.
That's funny and like appropriately a little dark or whatever. You know,
I also think like Amy Heckerling is someone who by the time her movie career started had her look really figured out.
Oh, I didn't know
right?
that.
Was kind of like dark alternative lady making it in Hollywood. But like the way they style Michelle Pfeiffer in this, outside of like her being blonde and Heckerling being like darker haired, raven haired, is very similar of the sort of like suit jacket and the wide collar shirt and the loose tie and the hair with the pen in it. Like that's Heckerling's look in all these things. And like, here's someone who's been like the weirdo girl and has figured out a way to like make it into success. I also think there's something interesting to that of like, yeah, the kind of shit that kids would mock you for when you're 13 and everyone's worried about being normal ultimately can become an asset and become your like defining characteristics and a thing you can own. And Saoirse dressing kind of similarly to her mom and looking at her and being like, I'm ugly and you're pretty.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, it's more a reflection of like the different stages of life.
Oh, that's
like there's
so sweet.
shit there.
Yeah.
But then, yes, it turns into Michelle Pfeiffer complaining about like my face is falling.
Yeah.
But there is funny stuff there. Like like Saoirse, a running plot in the movie is that she has a crush on a boy. And she's always describing to the mom the harebrained schemes that she and her friend are cooking up to like get her to go on a double date with the boy or get her in the same room as the boy. And they're playing a video game because they know the boy likes the video games. So they have to learn
I totally
its
did that.
secrets. Which video game?
I'm actually realizing it wasn't a video game, but I had a crush on this guy in middle school who loved Invader Zim. And then I was like, I have to go home
Was
and
it
watch
Griffin
Invader
Newman?
Zim.
I wasn't that into Invaders.
Okay, all right.
I
It
liked
always
it
seemed pretty funny to me.
okay. Yes.
Do you
But there
like
were
Invaders
people
Zim?
who made it their entire personality.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I
Yeah.
think it might have been more like his entire
Yeah,
personality.
that's what it's. If you had to watch it in order to get his attention,
Yeah.
that sounds like an entire personality.
He
guy.
also one day like offhanded was like, "Oh, you should join the tennis team. I play tennis." And I was like, "Yes, I will." And then
Did you join the tennis team?
oh yeah, I
Hell
did.
yeah.
And I actually the nice takeaway is I still play tennis.
That's
so.
great. We should play tennis this summer. Every year, I'm like,
should.
I'm going to play tennis this summer. I used to play tennis.
Mm.
Ben?
Our Fast Times episode came out. The great Marie Barty asked, "Hey, can you guys share high school photos so we can share them on social media? It's like a fun flashbacky thing. We're doing high school movies on the podcast." You pulled up was it your senior page?
Yeah.
And tennis was listed as one of your main interests.
I
In
think
high
we
school?
No, it was one
It
of
was
the
one of your
activities.
extracurriculars
Oh, okay.
or whatever.
But you only
Yeah.
listed two. It was like band tennis.
Now,
That
band,
was the only two
Well,
things
you
that I
talk about
participated
band
in.
we know
a
you
lot.
rocked that tuba.
Yeah.
And were you still on the tuba by senior year, or had you switched? You switched off tuba.
I had dropped the tuba for a joint of marijuana.
Well, wait a second. That's not a musical
Jazz
instrument at all.
cigarettes.
No, what were you playing in band?
I played a lot of different instruments,
okay,
but
okay.
the
Trumpet.
the main instrument was the trumpet.
Okay.
Gotcha.
And
I
then
could see Ben being very cool in high school.
Well, here's my take
Kind of
on
more
Ben.
of a stoner kid.
I think Ben was kind of like a cute stoner.
He looked
so
like
it's sort of
Elliott
like
Smith.
he's kind of doing his own thing, maybe, but like if you hacked away at it, you could get his attention. But maybe he just wants to. What did you want to do? Like if I'm like, well, let's hang out senior year. What are you going to want to do?
Smoke weed.
Smoke weed.
All right.
But I
You gonna
just,
take me somewhere?
Take for a ride.
Oh my god!
I
Slow
feel,
ride, baby.
I feel like I have never heard you invoke tennis.
Yeah.
Whereas you still talk about your band days a lot. And I didn't know you were a tennis kid.
I played tennis all 4 years. I love
Wow.
tennis. I still play from time to time.
How's your, what's your game? Like, you a baseline guy? How's your drop shot?
I mean, I'm really
Yeah.
rusty.
What's your
Yeah.
handicap? Are you good at 3-pointers?
But no, I was like third position in singles.
Nice.
Like I was a pretty good player.
Wow, yeah, you were great.
Tennis is fun.
I don't know what I would say my game is. My game is getting angry and like screaming at myself.
So you're kind of a John McEnroe. type.
Yeah.
I loved racket sports because I was better at them than I was at hand-eye. Like I wasn't kicking the ball while
You're not
running
supposed to do that in tennis.
You're not. But in soccer, you are.
Right,
And
yeah,
I
yeah.
really struggled to kick that ball in a way that was, with force and accuracy and all the things you want in soccer.
Yeah.
Wasn't really my thing.
In high school, in terms of sports, I'm checking my notes here. I excelled at physio ball.
Wait,
What's
what?
That big rubber ball that you used to do like stretches.
Uh-huh. You mean like a
Basic-
medicine ball?
Yeah, like
kinda?
Lamaze
like a
class
yoga ball?
shit.
Oh,
Yeah.
you were like lying down on top of a ball.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
like bouncing on top of it and stuff.
Sure.
Okay, that's awesome.
I almost failed it.
Karen, were you an athlete?
I did play a lot of soccer.
Okay.
And I did a lot of taekwondo, which I think is why I'm always like kind of ready to fight somebody, but nobody will duel me.
Well, I would duel you if I knew any taekwondo, but I don't.
Yeah.
What was your soccer position?
I was right wing. I was
Oh,
a
yeah.
forward.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
I would be really small and then just running.
Running down the wing.
Yeah.
Were you a good crosser?
I think I was. I actually think I was pretty good at soccer, and then I got diagnosed as concussion prone, and I couldn't play soccer.
No.
Concussion
Because so
prone?
you
Yeah.
can't have balls hitting your head. You
Yeah.
can't-
But how do
yeah.
they identify? They can diagnose that you are more susceptible to getting concussions?
I think basically I got 2 concussions in 3 weeks.
Okay, so you'd
and-
already been
Yeah.
getting them.
And
Okay.
Right.
neither time I'd hit my head. I just sort of like lurched a little and then gotten a concussion. So they were like, you actually should not
You're
be moving."
hypersensitive.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you're not
Wow.
allowed to move.
No, but and then so I couldn't go on roller coasters for a while.
Fuck.
No.
That does seem,
Yeah.
if you're lurching and getting a concussion, you don't get on a roller coaster.
Can you go on them now? Or
I
is it
can go
still-
on them
okay,
now.
Thank
Yeah,
What
and now I
happened?
won't stop.
Yeah.
I'm on one currently.
Rides.
Wait, what changed?
I think at one point they were like, "Hey, I think your brain tissue has completed."
Oh, okay.
developing,"
You're
sort
like
of.
your head kind of right. Okay.
Yeah,
all
yeah,
right.
yeah. My
Ben
head
got a
is
concussion
huge
recently.
now.
I
What
did.
happened?
I was throwing a snowball at a 10-year-old.
Wait, what?
Now he knows the 10-year-old.
He does. Yeah, Karen, before you
Now
get
this
worried.
10-year-old, I will say,
Nemesis.
lives rent-free in that concussed brain of his. But he does know
Yeah,
him.
Karen, before you get concerned, he knows that 10-year-old very well because that 10-year-old is his mortal nemesis.
Yes. The 10-year-old owns his ass.
This is-
Ben,
years of rivalry between him and a 10-year-old.
He instigated a snowball fight with me, so I came back at him hard.
Yeah.
Okay, and I was jumping up to bean.
Now,
his
I'm seeing your
ass.
age here is 10, right, Ben? You're also
No.
10? Oh, okay.
11.
Interesting.
I'm in my
One
late
grade above
30s. My very late 30s.
Yeah, just imagine the latest you could be in your 30s.
That's where Ben's at.
The
Also, you
absolute
said-
end point.
Nemesis for years, which means you started this when he was like 6?
Absolutely.
I think he's been in your head a couple
think
years.
seven.
I think
Couple
it's been
years.
going like a couple years. So since he's been about 8.
Okay, yeah. A fully grown man then.
He
Yeah.
famously took a look at my earring. I got my ear pierced
Oh,
at 38.
Yes,
Very
I remember
cool.
this. Yeah.
And he said, "Oh wow, that's pretty basic, man."
And the thing that about that, when he said that, is it bounced right off of Ben. It didn't affect him at all. He doesn't remember the
He's been
wording.
talking about it nonstop.
I wasn't bothered by it at all for days.
He wrote Ben a mean birthday card that we have
What?
here in the office.
Somewhere around here. I forget where it
I
is.
don't know
How
where
do
it
you
is.
know this?
He is
kid?
the son of our editor.
Yeah.
Oh,
on the podcast.
Incredible.
He's a sweet
Okay.
kid.
But Ben,
Wow.
just to be clear, Ben did not get a concussion because this kid hit him really hard with a snowball. Ben got the concussion because he threw a snowball so hard at the kid that he threw off his own center of gravity and fell.
Well, so I'm in the air.
Hoisted by his own
I
guitar.
throw the snowball. I come down. I immediately lose my footing. Like
He
I
did like
slipped
a
on
jump
ice.
throw and like spun his whole
And
body.
so with all the momentum of like me coming down from jumping, I slip and then fall on the back of my head.
Oh my god.
We've made him tell this story like 5 times on the
This is
podcast, and I
really
swear it gets
funny.
funnier every
I mean,
time.
I
He
feel bad
is.
because he did hurt his head.
No,
Yeah.
I don't feel bad at all. This is a joy.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Yeah, I have to go get an MRI soon.
Oh wait. Oh my
Oh.
god. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I got your ass, Karen.
And just to be clear, Ben,
No,
She's
I'm
got more
totally
concussions
fine.
than you.
That's-
She's
well,
he's concussion prone.
Are you
I have 2
currently?
now
Wait.
in my lifetime.
So the second one, the one with the snowball, are you currently concussed?
Well, when do you stop?
Wait, when
was
did
a
this
while
happen?
ago.
It was like
It was like 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine. Yeah. We can
Just
hit you
don't
on the head
like be
again.
a quarterback or whatever.
Yeah, I can avoid doing
Right,
that.
exactly.
And Ben, just to be clear, when you fell to the ground, and hit your head, of course, this 10-year-old boy came to your side and helped heal you.
No, he fucking Nelson from Simpsons my ass.
He's laughed at you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
I know. It's so good.
I'm obsessed with this kid.
Oh, he's
I want
cool.
to Venmo
He's really
this kid
cool.
some money.
Sure, I'll
Yeah.
give you his, I'll give you his Venmo.
He's
details.
really funny.
Yeah, he's gonna love hearing this.
I gotta be honest, I'm imagining just like a younger version of Griffin.
He's not.
No,
he's honestly
so much cooler.
He
will have
kind of
beaten the
looks like
shit out of
Dennis
young
the
Griffin.
Menace.
Yeah.
Like he's kind of got like an American Dennis the Menace vibe.
Amazing.
Like not the British kind.
We went out to
obviously.
dinner and we got like chips and he made a double dipping joke. And I was like, "Oh, have you ever watched Seinfeld?" He goes, "No, what's that?" And I go, "It's really fun. You'd actually like it. It's like that's where the double dipping comes from. It's a show made up of like observations like that." And he went, "I don't know. Who's on that show?"
Wait, that's so sweet.
And I was like, "Jerry Seinfeld." And he went, "No, that's not who I'm thinking of." He meant it. He wasn't trying to be funny.
No, of course. Yeah.
No,
yeah.
I'm thinking of someone else.
Wow.
Here's another thing I like in this movie
Oh, right. Sorry.
on paper. We're talking about like her coaching her daughter through like how to engage
Boy
her crush,
drama.
right?
Yeah.
That it like speaks to this sort of like loop I'm talking about of like the weird edgy girl made good come into her own, where she's sort of with reflection now applying the knowledge of like, no, this is how you actually get people interested in you. It's not like the dumb shit that like peer pressure tells you need to do in order to like rope in a boy or like catch his eye, which is just such an interesting contrast to her day job being that she's writing a show about teenagers that is like very boilerplate and is caught up in sort of like 90210 style like drama, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That there's this sense of like Amy Heckerling, her success is so much that she was like able to relate to the perspective of a teenager, that she could reactivate it for 20 years out of high school and make these movies and TV shows that like really connected with a younger generation, but even still knows like that's different from reality. And like to my daughter, I'm telling her the things I wish I had known at the time, which is mostly like be funny.
Right.
don't try to like play dumb. Don't like,
Yeah.
flatter him or whatever it is.
Yeah, when she like encourages her daughter to sing out at the end, I was like, that's very sweet. That feels like a good takeaway.
They have a good relationship.
Can we
that
also
felt quite
say that her accent is impeccable?
Oh my God, it's amazing.
I mean, this is the whole thing. Clearly, it's like, okay, we have to make this movie in Britain. We need a British, well, she's Irish, but we need a UK and Ireland child actor. So I guess we're going to have to get like the best one available because they're going to need to do a killer accent.
Yeah.
And so that's how they luck into, they're like, you have to get me number one.
Right.
You have to get me the person with like the 100 rating.
They successfully
identified. Like, yeah, we dug up this future 5-time Oscar
one of the best actors in the last 25 years. Like, it's just an astounding discovery.
She got passed over for playing, I don't know if you actually care about Harry Potter. I made the parcel tongue joke earlier and nobody laughed.
I didn't know she was, she
got passed over for Luna Lovegood.
Oh.
She was the runner-up and obviously makes a lot of sense for Luna Lovegood, but probably good that she didn't get it because then she would have been stuck making those goddamn movies.
Also, that actress is very good who plays her in the movie,
Lynn.
but
She's
also
good.
basically gets stuck as Luna Lovegood for the rest of her life.
Yeah. And so instead she gets this role. This is her first role, but of course, it's not released until after Atonement. Have you seen Atonement?
Yes, I read and watched Atonement over the winter. Yeah.
It's an incredible book.
But that's
a pretty good movie.
A good point.
That's exactly how I felt.
Good.
Yes.
By the time this movie is on Blockbuster shelves, she already has an Oscar nomination.
That's nuts. That's bonkers.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's insane to consider.
She should have gotten an Oscar nom for this movie.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Interesting.
She was phenomenal in it, I thought.
So it would be the 2008 Oscars, right? It was when it was fun. If we're going by its DVD release, the Oscars are like, we're making an exception. DVD of that movie is allowed. Well, the winner that year, of course, was Penelope Cruz for Vicky Cristina Barcelona. A performance at the tone of I Could Never Be Your Woman sometimes. Amy Adams in Doubt. Viola Davis in Doubt. Taraji Henson in The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, Marissa Tomei in The Wrestler. Kind of a funny 5. 5 perfectly good performances. It is,
Tomei.
Well, I'm dropping Adams. I'm sorry. That movie sucks. She's totally fine in it.
I think she's very good in it.
She's good in it. Like, but I just, whatever. I don't care for that movie.
Yeah. It's weird. You've never invoked it.
I have such doubts about that movie. My 5, do you want to know my 5?
Yeah.
Totally different.
Who would your winner from that 5 would be?
It would probably be Penelope Cruz. I think that performance is fucking hilarious. But I think Tomei is really good. And I'd be like pretty satisfied with Tomei.
Tomei's pretty excellent in
that. The thing with Tomei is it's kind of like, yeah, she's good. She's fucking Marissa Tomei. Like, I guess when she was in The Wrestler, it was a little bit like, Marissa, we haven't seen you in a second. Like, it's nice to see you. My 5 were Diane Wiest in Synecdoche, New York, who's my winner. An amazing performance. Rosemary DeWitt and Rachel Getting Married, an amazing performance. I do have Tomei. Adele Hanel in Water Lilies, which is an amazing performance. And I guess I'll just toss in fucking Saoirse Ronan. No, Beyonce Knowles was my 5th.
For Dreamgirl? No,
for Cadillac Records. She's amazing in.
Yeah, that's a good 5.
Wait, are these your top 5 performances by women by that year?
Yeah. Okay. Supporting actresses.
David has a spreadsheet for every single year of what he would nominate in every category.
David!
Going all the
down
way
to
back.
Craft Awards.
Back to the 1930s.
How he earned the nickname the Spreadmaster.
Gotcha. And that's what everybody calls him. Yeah.
Only in bed.
Right.
No,
sure.
I've never had sex. I made the spreadsheet instead.
When he's on a subway car, those knees are tight together. He never man spreads.
No.
Yeah.
I was the spread master when he opens up Google Drive.
I love to wedge myself into that, the L seat on the subway, the window seat.
I love that.
But my legs are always too long, so I'm always like sitting like this.
Oh,
like,
interesting.
I have too long legs.
I've never had an issue where my legs are too long.
Yeah, exactly. Shorter than me.
Yeah.
Wait a second. Actually, can you guys stand back to back?
Can you tell us apart?
Sure about that? with the shoes on? Or?
Yeah. Well, yeah, Karen is in 1-foot platforms right now.
Yeah.
Karen's dressed like Bart Simpson in the Radioactive Man episode.
So that's why I'm 1 foot taller than David.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So what other things should we talk about from this movie? It's
well, here's the thing I want to say.
Please.
So like Saoirse's accent is
very
immaculate,
good. Very
right?
Good.
If she had never acted again, you would just believe they found some American kid.
They found some Valley girl or
right?
whatever. Yeah.
And she has like shown herself basically, I think she can do anything. Like she's basically as versatile. And I think
she's a very good actor.
Yes.
I'd love her to make a really good movie again.
Same. A lot of the actors in this, like Graham Norton, who has such a distinctive Irish brogue, right? Like sounds like a little leprechaun.
What he's doing is interesting.
This is what's fascinating.
Yes.
Is he shows up, I'm like, oh my God, they're going to make Graham Norton do an American accent. This is not going to work. And then he starts talking and I'm like, huh.
He's kind of just tweaking it 5%.
This is what I think I finally landed on. Because I was like, what's going on? Something is unnerving me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I think he's actually on a technical level doing a pretty spot on American accent. The problem is he still is speaking with the musicality of his Irish accent.
Yeah.
So it's like he's going like, well, I don't know. We got to get you out of that outfit.
Right.
There's like this weird, like, I love Graham Norton.
Yeah. He's
and like you watch the clips of him on the talk show and like talking mile a minute and like, you know, and he's like taking all the Irish inflections out.
Yeah.
But he still sounds like he's like, you'll never catch me in my pot of gold.
It's pretty much his only film role.
As
not as playing himself or a voice.
He's quite good in Soul.
Sure, that's right. He's good in Soul.
Yes, where he is allowed to use his natural voice.
Yes. I grew up with Graham Norton. He hosted first he was on Father Ted, which he's very, very funny on. He's Noel Furlong. He always jokes how terrible he is on Father Ted, but he's very funny. The joke is he's the most annoying person on earth.
But it's like David Letterman always shitting on his own acting work. Right.
And then he hosted So Graham Norton. Did you grow up? No one else grew up with Graham Norton.
They played on BBC America.
There you go. Sure.
Yeah, I watched him. Yeah.
I was like, well, watching him on YouTube.
That's the thing. Right. Now, once YouTube hit, his stuff is like everywhere.
Yeah.
And he was truly one of those guys. I'm 12 and I'm just like, this is one of my guys.
Yeah.
I'm going to follow this guy to the top. And then he went to the top and I was like, I'll just leave him at the top. He seems to have figured it out by himself. And it's not like I dislike Graham Norton now, but now I only digest him in YouTube clips that come across my... It's not like I sit down and I'm like, I want to watch all of his interviews like front to back.
But man, the clips are good.
No, he's so very good at
so good.
They're very good at their job
also,
there, like getting the big long stories out of the actors and all that.
So many American talk shows have ripped him off in the last 10 years.
So who's ripping him off the most?
I mean, I think Corden ripped him off the most.
With the couch.
Because I think Corden came from the UK to American offices and was like, oh, they won't know what I'm ripping off because they haven't seen this.
Yeah.
And the whole like couch with multiple guests at the same time and being like, I'm just trying to spark them into having interesting conversations with each other. Like that is wholesale Graham Norton.
You're right.
Mulaney.
No, but Mulaney's doing something fucking
different.
Bizarre.
Yeah.
Because he's also doing like Dick Cavett.
Right.
And he's doing Bill Maher in the 90s. He's
also doing cable access.
Yes. He's doing this weird grab bag thing.
Yeah.
And the thing about that show as it's gone on, that we're talking about his Netflix show, is you're watching it come together. Because the first couple episodes, it lurches from thing to thing and you're like, no one has figured out the connective tissue. And so instead he's like, all right, we're going to go do this now. And you're like, okay. Like, and he sits down a bunch of people. It's like, cruise ships. What do you think? And they're like, I don't know. We've never been on one.
Well, that's
and you're like, did anyone talk to anyone?
But I think that's what he's really going for.
Which is like chaos.
Watching old talk shows from the 70s or watching cable access shows and being like, oh, they haven't figured all of this out. They didn't prepare. Like shit just can happen. And there's that like danger of like a bit might just fall or a conversation might just end versus I think Graham Norton, like
the one where Pete Davidson on it and he just doesn't want to talk. And fucking Lunella is like, I want to fuck you. And he's like, I don't want to do that. Sorry. I've been kind of obsessed with that show because it's interesting.
It's just so funny that Graham Norton in this is like, it feels like he is specifically playing like a queer eye.
Yeah,
guy.
he's right. He's a fabulous costume designer.
Right, but it's also like Carson Creasley, like very specifically of that moment.
Yeah.
And you're like, maybe just let him be Irish.
It was a moment though where because he's such a cheery, positive guy that as I was watching, was like rooting for him as an actor. I was like, yeah, like
Karen, I had the exact same feeling. Right. Yeah. I'm like, you're doing it great. You know what? You basically make sense in this movie. Yeah. It's not incongruous.
But it speaks to there's like something just a little weird. He's not doing anything wrong.
It would be fine if there was just one. It's just the fact that every 5 minutes there's another person from a British
every
sitcom.
Conversation's like that.
Yeah.
So Steve Pemberton shows up and then he's gone. he's a really funny. Mackenzie Crook has that one scene.
Yes. Randomly and then never comes back.
Never comes back, and that scene is kind of stinks and doesn't make any sense.
What's the name of the League of Gentlemen guy?
Steve Pemberton.
Right. Yeah.
He's so funny. But like, again, I'm just sort of like, hi. And then he's gone and I'm like, I'll see you later. It's nice to see your face, I guess.
I wonder if they were like filming on set in Britain, like on a stage, and they're like, oh no, we haven't cast this role.
Go grab
Who's
someone.
around?
Go over there.
Mackenzie Crook's on a break. Bring him in.
I want to put something forward, and I'm just gonna like say this as broadly as I possibly can, right? I knew that people like mapped the Catan thing onto this. Had never seen the movie.
Now you're saying Chris Catan, not Settlers of Catan, which of course has a map.
Immediately what I thought.
I knew, of course, that there was an I Could Never Be Your Woman edition of Settlers of Catan.
Of course, yeah.
I'd never played.
They released it, but it weirdly sold quite poorly. No one understood.
I also knew that people projected that this in some way was inspired by the Catan relationship, right? And I'm watching
that rumor, sure.
And obviously, like, people can make auto-fiction in which they're combining and compressing events from different points of their life, pushing it all into one space to make a movie more exciting. But I'm like, the intricacy of this narrative feels so specific in the, like, she discovers a guy on her show as her show is kind of declining, and he starts to pop, and then he gets more successful than her and is like going off and being pushed ahead by the network head who is starting to dismiss her, and her writers are jumping ship over to this guy. So I just started digging into like male guest stars on the Clueless TV show. And I'm not going to make any direct accusations or guesses.
Cool.
But like,
I'm glad you're not making any accusations.
I just found a couple guys who were several
who kind of like broke out after Clueless,
who not only like were on Clueless and then got fed strongly into the TGIF lineup right after.
Okay, who are we talking about?
Gets
all right, who you got
from TGIF? The specific one that I thought was interesting. The guy who plays Josh, the Paul Rudd character, on the first season of Clueless.
Yes, before they write him off the show, basically.
They write him off the show when the show is dropped by ABC and moves to UPN. That guy then immediately gets fed into Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
David Lash
becomes the new love interest on Sabrina the Teenage Witch for 3 seasons. And a bunch of the writers and producers of Clueless jumped over from Clueless to Sabrina.
Yeah. So did you watch Sabrina the Teenage Witch?
No.
So later in Sabrina the Teenage Witch, she shifts from she's in high school learning to be a witch and a high schooler. Dilemma. To she runs like a coffee shop.
She works at a coffee
I guess
shop.
she works, and she's in college now.
Girl boss.
But there's like a central perky kind of.
And they replaced the adorable Harvey Kinkle, her high school boyfriend, with the incredibly boring Josh, also called Josh.
His name is still Josh?
Yeah, they didn't even bother to change
That's
his
amazing.
name.
Yeah.
Very poor, very bad. Sabrina's only good when she's in high school. IMO.
Yeah, I agree. I just
Thank you for agreeing.
I just thought it was interesting.
David only likes girls when they're still in high school. Sorry, Griffin.
On the record. Women shouldn't get jobs.
No.
They should never grow up.
They shouldn't be in comedy.
They shouldn't be in comedy. Yeah.
Boo. There were just a couple other guys I found who also fit. That's the main one. But I was just like, if you look at the timing of that in terms of this movie having the axes to grind of like the network thinks I'm not hip anymore, people I'm discovering are jumping off, they're threatening to cancel my show. I was just like, I think this movie is truly about her experience working on the Clueless TV show.
Yeah, sure. Yes. Of course it is.
And I think the romance I imagine is also based on experiences within that.
Maybe, or at least having a crush on. I don't know.
I don't know.
She claims to be 37, and then she admits she's 40. Michelle Pfeiffer, I think, was more like 45. Michelle Pfeiffer is 11 years older than Paul Rudd. I looked it up. Michelle Pfeiffer is 11 years older than Paul Rudd. In this movie, Michelle Pfeiffer, I guess, is supposed to be more like
20, 19.
No, I guess if she's 40 and he's 29, is supposed to be like the correct age gap. In Ant-Man and the Wasp, she plays essentially his mother.
What?
I mean, like she plays the mother of the Wasp.
I did not until this moment.
Halfway into the movie, turned to my wife and I'm like, wait a second. in fucking Ant-Man, she's not his mom, but she's the lost
She's
mom.
his mother-in-law.
Yes, she becomes his mother-in-law.
Yes.
Wow,
And she's
now you
got
have
like
to marry
gray
your
hair.
mother-in-law.
Yeah, now you have to marry your mother. No one in this had a car with a wheel and fling out of it.
No good car ideas in this movie.
And it is so telling of like Michelle Pfeiffer hit whatever 55 and they were like,
Right.
grandma, like that's it. I don't care
Wow.
how old you are anymore.
Right.
You live in the fucking quantum realm, and when we pull you out, you're old. That's
Right.
it.
Because, Paul Rudd is now in his mid-50s and is still playing like a superhero.
He's playing like
Yeah.
40s. Like it's kind of like how old are you? And it's like 40s.
40s.
Yeah.
Like,
Right. But like Michelle Pfeiffer.
and he can pull it off. Like,
Michelle Pfeiffer is pointedly playing someone who used to be a superhero in the Marvel universe.
Michelle Pfeiffer is 13 years younger than Michael Douglas, who is her husband in the Ant-Man movies.
Yes.
It's just, I don't know. All I'm doing is saying people's ages. This isn't like insightful, but it is
No,
just
it is. I mean,
weird.
yeah.
It's
No,
just
you're right.
kind of like crazy how this happens. This movie is about like when Mother Nature is coming in and being like, hey, Paul Rudd's going to want to have a kid. You're not going to be able to have a kid. Like, well, you're going to have to deal with that. Right. You know, where it's like, and Michelle Pfeiffer's like, oh, yeah, shoo, Mother Nature. But you're like, yeah, no, these are interesting dilemmas for a woman that age.
I mean, I feel like it's Meryl Streep has the quote that the week she turned 50, she got 3 different offers to
She
play a
said
witch.
this on Graham Norton.
yes,
Yeah.
I have. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she ends up doing Into the Woods.
Yeah, that
But,
was
like,
her being
she
like,
was-
I shall finally
This
play
is
a
the
witch.
best witch. But she
badly.
was like, and then people talk, like actresses are like, the second I turned 30, I got handed 5 scripts in which I'm the mother of a teenager.
Yeah.
And not like someone who had a teenager in high school.
That's nuts. There's
Yeah.
also, wait, what was that movie with Anne Hathaway where she was in love with a younger man?
The idea
yeah.
of you?
Yes.
Oh, God, that movie was so annoying.
That also feels like this, but the same issue where it's like, but Anne Hathaway is so hot and beautiful.
That movie-
he would be so lucky to be with her.
Correct. That movie's insane because Anne Hathaway is snatched in that movie. And you were like, this is not a dilemma.
No.
The fucking Nicole Kidman, Zac Efron movie, which is Pigswill. I can't remember what the name of it is. That one,
Family Affair?
is that what it's called? What a
Yeah.
gross title.
I have not seen that.
It's so bad. Yes, it's called A Family Affair.
Oh,
It was on
no.
Netflix, I
Okay.
think.
Yes. It's Joey King as Nicole Kidman's daughter, who's a personal assistant to Zac Efron.
Correct.
Oh.
And he's like a self-absorbed actor guy.
Right. And then he's like, that's your mom. Wugga, wugga, wugga.
And that movie, that movie felt like it was directed by like, malfunctioning AI or
Isn't
whatever.
it Richard LaGravenese?
Yes, it is. That one, at least you're kind of like, well, Nicole Kidman's not a young woman. Like, there's some kind of like, yes, she's old enough to be your mother, I suppose.
I see.
I don't know. I mean, even that movie, I was like, can everyone? But the idea of you was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Where she's like, oh, I'm just such an old bag. And I'm like, no,
What
you're
would you
not.
want to do with me?
The hottest woman alive. Yeah.
God, Hollywood's so broken. Can you fix it? You work in Hollywood.
Oh, I should. I never thought about
You've been
fixing
living
it,
in
but
LA.
No, I will.
You don't want to
should.
go fix it?
Fix it. Go
Wait,
fix it.
you
Roll
guys-
your sleeves up.
You're so smart.
Jeez.
But talking about this movie not needing like fake artificial outside conflict, right?
Well,
I-
it's gotten a Photoshop conflict to begin with, but
Saying
yes.
it doesn't need the Photoshop
It sure
conflict.
doesn't. Yeah.
There's what I think is kind of the most interesting thing to work on. And I think like in theory, on paper, this should be what is like kind of the source of driving her, like, I don't know if we can be together kind of thing, is she's being told basically that her career is winding down, right? Not just that like society...
You're going to lose this show and that's kind of it.
Right.
Yeah,
That she's already dealing with this sort of like, I'm of an age where society starts valuing women less and starts ignoring us or belittling us. But I'm someone who's always focused on my career and my independence, and I'm a single mother and I'm doing it all, and I don't need the approval of men. And now it's sort of like, your show maybe isn't hip anymore. And here's this guy she discovers, and everyone's like, you're the future. And he's at the beginning of what's probably going to be a decades-long career. All the offers are starting to come to him, and she's in a world where she's starting to make concessions and having to scrape and cut. You know, he says like the show isn't hip anymore. And she went, yeah, you keep cutting the budget. When you cut the budget, the first 2 things to go are wardrobe and soundtrack. And now the show isn't cool anymore, right? And she's like fighting to stay cool and relevant.
That is a really cool idea for a movie. If it's like, because I feel like we're now seeing women who had the who were able to choose career over family.
Yes.
And it's sort of like, okay, but once your careers are taken away from you, who are you and what is your life? That could have been this movie.
Totally.
Yeah.
For a guy whose career is about to, the movie seems to set up like go like a rocket ship, right? Like even if he ultimately doesn't pan out and become like an A-list movie star, this guy probably has 5 years of getting worked through the machinery of everyone being like, he might be a star. And to be in a relationship with someone who's at such a radically different point in their life is to me more interesting than the literal like age difference. And that's there. It's set up in the movie. And instead, the two characters don't talk to each other for 30 minutes because Sarah Alexander like tricks her into thinking she has a photo of a traffic jam.
Just as this movie is kind of building to a head in their like, how serious should we be conflict?
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, I'm going to stop talking to you because, right, I saw the weird photoshops of you.
And then it's basically a thing that's resolved the second she asks him one question.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I mean, so annoying.
And then they make the joke where he's like, how do you know I wasn't lying? And she went, because you're not that good of an actor. And you're like, why didn't you have this conversation 2 months ago?
Yeah.
There is this sort of, the final plot to thing is that Hugo Girl gets canceled, her terrible show.
Yeah, the show looks like
It does
dog
look
shit.
really bad.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he gets a spin-off show called The Shizzle. It's like again, these are all jokes. It's true that even by 2008 feels stale. Would have felt stale enough in 2005.
Right. Funny People's the year after this, and Yo Teach feels like a much better version of this.
But even Yo Teach is a little bit like, right, you're mocking an earlier kind of sitcom.
Yeah.
The Shizzle, Fred Willard's like, oh, it's what's hip, it's what's now. He's going to get the show. And he insists on Michelle Pfeiffer being the writer. Like he stands his ground.
No one in the industry is giving her credit for discovering this guy, but this guy doesn't want to work without her. And it's like the whole second half of this movie is like based on misunderstandings, miscommunications, or the lack of one conversation where you're just like, why not just like call him up and ask him this directly?
Why not? Why not?
There's this whole notion that like, is he lying to me about getting set up for this success? And is he hiding it from me because he's just using me as a stepping stone? And then you find out that like he thought they told her.
Right. I forgot about that.
There's stuff like that where it's just like these characters. I mean, she certainly seems emotionally intelligent enough in the way she talks to her daughter about how to relate to men you're interested in, that I don't buy that she keeps on falling for the dumbest shit in the world.
Yeah, you're right. That's so true. Also, why does her ex-husband just walk into her house all the time?
Her ex-husband is John Lovitz, who keeps getting work done.
One joke is right. Yeah, initially he has something on his forehead, and then he's getting a chin
plugs.
thing. Right.
He's getting He's getting a chin implant because if you make your face longer, then you don't need a facelift.
Incredible.
They're like good little jokes in there.
Yeah, I mean, Lovitz is fine. He's doing what's asked.
I was looking at the IMDb quote page trying to pick out what to read. And like you read the quote page for this movie and like there are some things that are deranged.
There's no consistent style of humor in the movie.
But there are like 4-line exchanges where I'm like, that's funny and well written. If I'm just reading that, that's
there
fine.
are some funny jokes, but it ranges.
Fun jokes.
They all feel like they're plucked from different screenplays and put into one movie.
I agree with you.
Which is also fascinating because this doesn't feel like a movie that got like noted to death. It's like she made it independently. She's the only writer on it. She's the director. Like it's always the kind of thing I find more interesting is watching like one person's calamity versus a movie that's bad because it was made by committee. Where you're like, well, this sucks because too many people got involved and like no longer, the idea is, it's like mashing different puzzle pieces together. But something like this where you're like, this came out of one person's lived experience and like thoughts and hopes and dreams. And then it just all ends up feeling odd and disjointed.
I'm just looking at the quotes page to see if there's anything that's making me laugh. Not really. I did like when Paul
smiling.
A lot of things that are funny are like when Paul Rudd danced. When Paul Rudd does an extended bit about the Home Alone poster. I was doing my,
he did the face
thing.
Yeah.
He did a really good job for anybody listening.
It was
that's it. I mean, I think it's cute at the end when Saoirse sings her anti-Bush Alanis Morissette ironic cover, but it's not funny. It's just kind of cute. And like then it's cute that she, the boy. I think it's funny that the boy, Dylan, the boy she has a crush on, introduces himself by saying, "Hi, I'm Dylan and I'm alcoholic," that actually made me laugh because he's like 11 or whatever. I don't know. If I'm like in the the audience, with the parents, I'm like, it's funny.
But then, okay, Saorise Ronan, at one point in the movie, they cut to her in her bedroom mirror singing, "Oops, I Got a Career" by shaking my rear and making guys leer. "Oh, baby, baby, oops, I'm going to sing more and dance like a whore. I'm just not talented." Yeah. And then the movie basically cuts away and you're like, what the fuck was that?
Yes.
And then they set up later, much later,
that she's working on these parody songs.
Right. And that she wants to perform them at the school talent show. But also there is like a hostility in that song towards Britney Spears.
But there was a hostility at the time.
I understand that was in the culture, that was just a fucking thing. But it also is just like that jumping in a movie where Sarah Alexander is like twirling her mustache and being like, "I must destroy older women."
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like she's making a film about her own insecurities and then she keeps on being like, "But these young women are the actual problem," which feels very like, I don't know, ungenerous and kind of beside the point.
Yeah, you could totally lift it out of the movie and it would be better for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a movie, a sort of calmer, more confident movie that's better. That's about, but like no one's going to make that movie, I guess, would be her argument. Or just make that movie for no money. Like make a $5 million movie, like make a true indie about like being a short. I mean, I don't know.
No, but that's an interesting thought that like she's writing this screenplay trying to imagine the version of this movie that a studio will greenlight because that's what her whole career
is.
It's
right? Like I'm making a studio rom-com. Like give me $30 million
and trying to put big enough sequences in it and jokes and imagining that it's going to be bright and shiny and everything. Then every studio turns it down. This weird financial criminal comes and is like, "Here's $20 million. But you have to film in
monopoly
England."
money.
What she should have done by that point is gone like, what is the $10 million version of this movie that is not even trying to be a studio comedy?
Yeah, what did I actually really want to make?
Right, like maybe I make the Nicole Holliff Center scaled version of this.
But that's kind of not what she ever did.
No,
and I haven't
20
seen
years in the studio system.
Yeah, she only made one other movie after this. Amy did, Karen, called Vamps, which was also a bomb.
And also barely got released.
Also barely released, starring Alicia Silverstone and Kristen Ritter. It's like a vampire rom-com. I have not seen it.
It's a post-Twilight vampire rom-com that we'll be talking about next week, but I have not seen it.
There was a post-Twilight vampire rom-com?
Yeah, it was called Vamps.
That's nuts that
Stacked
it
cast.
wasn't huge.
Dan Stevens is the love interest, I believe.
From Downton Abbey?
Yeah.
Another
one
thing.
of his first post-Downton things, though.
I love him.
I love him,
Sigourney Weaver's the villain.
Cool.
I'm excited to watch it. I'm excited to watch it, too.
But was that also made at a sort of studio scale? I know it was a bomb. That's the only one I don't have the answer to.
Look, I have
heard like a
lot of
film.
people say that movie is kind of a hidden gem in a way that has me excited to watch it. But everyone's ding on it is the one big issue is
it's too
you can
cheap.
tell she didn't have the money.
Right.
That it clearly like should be a $20 million studio comedy and she had to make it for like $6 million. But that's like a higher concept genre comedy
that's
that
also
needs like makeup and effects and stunts and shit.
But it's the one time she tries that.
In theory.
No, it doesn't. Yeah. I don't know. We're gonna play the box office game. Now, this film wasn't released in theaters.
Okay.
But we're gonna play it anyway, I guess.
Can we do the Spain weekend? What do we do? Do we do the weekend it goes to Blockbuster?
I think we do the weekend it goes to Blockbuster.
Okay.
Don't you think?
Yeah.
I mean, here's an interesting question.
I love interesting questions.
Is it possible to find what the top rental or home video sales were the weekend it went to Blockbuster?
Ooh.
I mean,
I don't play the home box office game. Ben is looking at me so angrily.
Ben keeps crying
offended
the whole
by
time.
this pitch.
I don't think so. I don't know where to find
I just think respect the idea.
I don't mind the idea. I just would need, I think, to prep for that because I have no idea how to.
It was a really cute idea.
It's perfectly.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Applause break.
Participation trophy.
Pat myself on the back, literally.
So this film came out on DVD in America in 2008
Rentals
on
only.
February something, right? I'm gonna look it up. February. Come on, IMDb, don't let me down. I'm not talking about when it premiered at the Maui Film Festival, February 26th.
Okay. One week after my birthday.
Ooh.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you could have gone to see it if you wanted to.
Well, I could have gone to rent it. There was
to
a
rent it.
Blockbuster near my dorm at CalArts.
Right.
I was still there at the time.
Or at 2008, how old are you, Karen?
I was 13, and I know
we already
one
talked
movie
about it.
that came out in 2008.
You know one movie that
Well,
came
I mean,
out
I'm
in
sure I
2008.
know more, but the one I know for certain, well, actually, now that I say it, I don't know if it's true.
Throw it out
I
there.
can't wait for
Is
you
it
to
Mamma Mia?
I think Mamma Mia came out in 2008. Yes, it did.
Yay!
It did, but it didn't come out. It didn't grace our screens until July. Of course, it's a summer
okay.
film.
It was
The
counter-programming to The
pre-Mamma
Dark
Mia
Knight.
It's a
Yeah.
pre-Mamma Mia
Yeah.
world. So
Dark
instead,
times.
we're going to do the weekend of February 29th on 2008. A new film this week is a comedy, kind of a bad comedy, a sports comedy. It's new this
Oh.
week.
It's not
So-
semi-pro.
Is it like Air Bud 5?
It's not Air Bud 5. It
Okay.
is semi-pro, opening to
Oh, sorry.
$18.9 million.
You know what I'm realizing?
What's that?
I dropped out of CalArts the day before my birthday. So this is the first week of me being back in New York. My brother and I went to see Semi-Pro, and I'm like, I'm back seeing movies in New York multiplexes.
So did you drop out because your birthday was approaching? And you
I
were
dropped
like,
out
can't
because
turn
I was
19?
violently depressed.
Sure.
And then I was just like, I'm setting the date of February 18th to get the fuck out of here because I want to go back, returning to New York for my
Multiplexes,
birthday.
as we say.
Right, high-fiving people.
Uh-huh.
And then people were like, what's your plan? I was like, I don't
Who
fucking know.
knows? Well, you went to see Semi-Pro, which
Right.
just isn't that good.
Yeah, I just
Right?
had to adjust in my mind because I was like thinking, what movies would I have seen at the
I
Valencia Town
understand that.
Center 8? But now
what's
I'm
your
realizing
opinion of Semi-Pro?
it sucks. It's really weird.
Yeah, it's not good.
What's weird about it is
Have you seen Semi-Pro?
No.
It's,
Should I?
It's based on a true story. No.
Oh, okay.
loosely.
Incredibly loosely, but it's in that vein of the Will Ferrell comedy vehicle of the 2000s.
The Will Ferrell sports comedy was reigning
you're,
supreme.
You're
Okay.
kicking and screaming. Your blades of glory.
Yes,
and they were like,
yes.
here's the next one in that great lineage,
Great.
Semi-Pro, Will Ferrell with an afro doing 70s basketball.
Oh.
And the bizarre thing about the movie is that Woody Harrelson is second billed and is like the lead of the movie.
And he's playing kind of like a washed up NBA guy who's fallen into this.
A
It's like
real-
sort of the ABA.
Right,
you
but
know.
he's kind of playing it like a real guy. And he's sort of doing like in a more grounded, like sports dramedy.
Interesting.
And then they just interweave it with like Will Ferrell hijinks where he's the manager of the team who's
And
also
he's
a
like a
player, but
disco
he's
guy.
bad.
Yeah.
And he's like kind of just an attention whore. And so he does all these stunts to get people in the crowd. So then there'll be like a big Will Ferrell set piece. And then it's like Woody Harrelson going to his ex-wife Maura Tierney and being like, look, I know I fucked up, but I'm trying to make good again. It's a very strange movie.
Not a good movie.
Not good.
Ben, did you see Semi-Pro?
No.
Okay. Number 2 at the box office is a political thriller.
February
An
2000.
ensemble cast.
It's not Vantage Point, is
It
it?
is Pete Travis's Vantage Point,
Ooh,
Griffin.
good
How
You are
many-
so sick and weird.
Thank you. How many Oscar winners are in the cast of Vantage Point?
You've got 2.
Forrest Whitaker, Zoe Saldana.
Oh, that's right. Zoe now has an Oscar. 3 Oscar winners. Those 2 plus William Hurt.
Uh-huh.
And then, of course, Sigourney Weaver's in it. She's
Nominee.
a multiple nominee.
Yeah.
Dennis Quaid
Never
got a
nominated.
nom.
Never got a
Oh.
nom.
Snub for Far From Heaven.
Yeah.
Yeah, snubbed for The Parent Trap.
Snub for The Parent Trap, of course.
Yeah, because they didn't have the hottest dad in the history of movies category yet.
Best winery.
You guys should
Uh,
have me on when you do an episode about all the hot dads in cinema.
Well,
We
we
did
have
Parent Trap
done a
years
Parent
ago.
Trap
I know,
episode, of
it's really
course.
upsetting
it's
that
a tragedy that you weren't on.
My-
I gotta do it again.
My sister, who I think is
Well,
about the
we can
same age as
retrap.
you. Yeah. We took our little cousins to see Parent Trap at the Nighthawk recently.
wow.
And Dennis Quaid came on screen, and my sister turned to me and she was like, I'm realizing this performance kind of fucked me up for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
haven't really processed it until this moment.
It's true. There are actually so many dads like that where you go back
Who
and you
else?
Captain Von Trapp, Hart's
Well,
dad.
kind of the
He's not-
original
Yeah.
hot dad.
The
Yeah.
dad in Totoro absolutely fucked me
Okay,
up.
but the Dad in Totoro is a different vibe, and I love the Dad in Totoro.
Yeah,
but that's
yeah,
sort
yeah.
of like bookish,
Yeah, bookish,
warm, you know,
warm,
sweetie
hot.
pie,
Yeah,
more
jacked.
hot, jacked, naked. Karen just like starts taking us down this road. I'm like, he's so sweet with his kids, and Karen's like, yeah, sweet in a hot way.
He's in a hot tub.
He does
It's
get,
like,
which
what?
was for a long time. I thought my mother, I don't know what my mother thinks of Totoro. My daughter's favorite favorite part of the movie was when they were all in the tub together
That's
because they
so
yell.
cute. Yes. Yeah.
And she likes how they yell because they're trying to
okay.
scare off the script.
But wait, who else, Karen? Tim Allen and the Santa Claus.
No.
Santa Claus 2.
Tim Allen and the Santa Claus
Tim Allen
3.
and the Santa Claus 3.
Tim Allen and Jungle to Jungle.
Tim Allen voicing Buzz Lightyear.
Yeah, I mean, you see a chin on that guy?
Vantage Point. Have you seen Vantage Point?
I've not.
It's like a Rashomon-esque thing.
Yeah.
Like there's an assassination attempt and we learn all of the vantage
Keep
points.
seeing it from different vantage
Haven't
points.
seen it.
Neither have I.
Okay, well, we're going to move on then to a costume drama that is
The Other Berlin Girl?
horrendously bad.
Other Berlin Girl?
Justin Chadwick's The Other Boleyn Girl.
Oh my gosh.
In
I'm so
which
impressed.
Natalie Portman plays Anne Boleyn and Scarlett Johansson plays that hussy Mary Boleyn, who we all forget Henry first had the affair with before he trained his sights on Anne.
This is a period of releases that I remember so vividly.
Eric Bana, at the tail end of his movie star career, like stomping around as Henry VIII, fucking embarrassing himself.
I had spent 6-7 months in a suburb outside of California where I could take a bicycle to the one multiplex and only see things that were playing there, or I had to talk someone into driving me to a theater if there was something else I wanted to see. And this is the first week I'm back in New York and I'm like, I have autonomy.
That's amazing.
I'm riding trains.
Yeah.
Everything's playing. So I remember every fucking movie that came out in this time period.
Wow.
Have you seen The Other Boleyn Girl?
No.
Do you care to learn about British history, Henry VIII,
I
all
love,
this stuff?
Like Wolf Hall?
Exactly. So stick with that. I would say
great.
The Other Boleyn Girl isn't going to offer you
Stick
more
to books.
shading.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying Wolf Hall is a little more humanist, realistic. That's good stuff.
I'm also just
Gotcha.
is it going to make sense if I haven't seen the first Boleyn Girl?
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
Now you want to tell me about the other
Applause
one?
break.
Thank you.
No.
Thank you.
Number 4 at the box office is an adaptation of a young adult fantasy
Inkheart?
series. No.
Is it in the
Potter.
10?
Harry
Is it in the
Potter.
10?
No.
Is Inkheart in the 10?
No.
When did
but
Inkheart?
I love Inkheart.
Thank you. I think Inkheart came out
came
January
out-
2008.
Yeah, and so you thought Inkheart made it all the way to late February? That thing fell out of theaters.
Okay, so
It came
I
out-
look foolish.
It came out January 2009, so it's not out till next year. No. This is sort of similar to Inkheart. Inkheart, though, I feel like has the
It's not
Page
Spiderwick
Masters.
Chronicles, is it?
He doesn't let me finish. The Spiderwick Chronicles is the correct answer. Mark Waters is The Spiderwick Chronicles, starring little good doctor himself, Freddie Highmore. Never seen it.
David Strathairn, Mary Louise Parker. It's got a weirdly good cast. I've never seen it.
Yeah, Seth Rogen's in it, apparently. He must be a voice of some
I'm a
creature.
goblin. Something like that.
Yep, he's a bird-eating hobgoblin called Hog Squeal.
That was
Sure he-
incredible.
Thank
that was
you.
such a great, yeah.
Have you seen Spiderwick?
No, I haven't.
You haven't opened the Chronicles?
No, I haven't. But you know what? I have opened the other Chronicles of Narnia.
Hell yeah.
Bigger deal.
Oh.
A bigger deal.
What
than
about
you.
Riddick? You heard those tales?
No, wait, what?
This guy can see so well in the dark. It's nuts.
Wait, okay, random. Did you guys ever read Charlie Bone?
Charlie
what is
Bone.
that?
I was trying to describe this to somebody, and it felt like I was making
Yeah,
it
that
up.
sounds like you hit your head,
Yeah.
got one of your famous concussions, then came up with a young adult series.
Yeah, my friend was like, "Are you trying
Children
to
of
describe?"
the Red King.
Yes.
A series
Charlie
of 10
Bone.
fantasy books.
Yes, but when I was describing it out loud, it just sounds like someone mistakenly having a bad memory trying to recall Harry Potter. It's like
10-year-old Charlie Bone discovers he has a special power. So far, we're in Harry Potter
he
land.
goes to a magic school, but it's a weekly school where he comes back home on the weekend.
Dude, this sounds good.
It's amazing.
Bloor's Academy?
Yes.
But they
Mr.
never-
Ominous and his 3 magical cats? Is it good?
I loved it as a kid.
Yeah.
I
They
haven't
never
read
made
it
a movie
since.
of this, though, right?
I don't
So
think
Griffin's
so.
not aware of it. Well, I'm seeing on Wikipedia the film adaptations tab. Let's see. In 2023, Amazon announced that it was in the works. Joseph Fiennes,
Okay.
Carmen Ejogo.
Okay.
Who knows what's come of it since then.
Series or film?
Film.
I was
You
going
know?
to say, this is the era, 2008, where it's everyone trying to identify what the next Harry Potter is. And all of them either basically tap out at 2 or the first one bombs. There's a lot of these. And then I
I'm gonna
feel
read
like
these
10
Charlie
years
Bones.
later, it becomes, we're going to do it for TV instead.
Yeah.
But the sort of Percy Jackson hits a wall at 2.
Yes, I loved Percy Jackson.
Mortal Instruments never gets off the ground.
Right, Artemis Fowl.
Artemis Fowl. I mean,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
took
There's
a
a
long
lot
time.
of these, though. You're
Yeah.
absolutely
Right.
right.
The
Aragon. Yeah.
Aragon.
Wait,
Yeah.
I
The
recently
whole thing with Aragon was
Yeah.
that it was like a child wrote this,
Yes.
and you're like, don't brag about that. It's
Yeah.
fine for adults to write books. We don't need to
Right.
hand them over to children.
Also, I recently realized that Aragon is just dragon, but the first letter swapped, and I was so upset.
Yeah, you know what that sounds like?
God.
Something a child would come
like
up
a
with.
10-year-old would come up with
Yeah.
it. They're like, just print it.
Yeah.
This shit sells.
This book was written by a teenager. You'll never believe it, but he was homeschooled. Yeah, checks out.
Oh my God.
Makes sense.
So, but no one's ever done the Tripod trilogy. There's certain like young adult shit I read as a kid that has never been done. Bruce Coville has never been done in a proper way.
Right, you love.
I fucking
You
love
talk
those
about
books
those a lot, but they did them for TV.
They did a TV movie
Yeah.
once or whatever.
I think
but
they
you know,
did a couple
yeah.
of them.
But it's like, come on. Like, there's still stuff on the vine. Ben looks so upset at me. Okay, number 5 in the
I
box
like the
office.
Tripod trilogy.
Tripod trilogy's cool.
It was awesome.
Spooky.
Yeah.
You hear they're doing a gender swapped holes.
Oh, I did hear about this, but I was excited because the main character is one of the girls from the Babysitters Club.
Look, they announced good people.
Yeah.
I did have a little bit of a "what are we doing here" reaction, where I'm like,
Well,
was
because
this
it's
a
like-
leftover memo from 2018 where they were like, I don't know, holes but girls?
But the thing with Holes is it's like the book's good
Yeah.
and the movie's good. Must we?
Right.
That's a good question.
I don't know. Like, it's
Yeah.
like, we kind of did it right? We
Let's
all
do
agree
it.
that Holes is good.
Quick roundup of David's points during this
Fuck,
thing.
Karen's about to nail
Women
me to the
should
wall.
not be a comedy.
So some of those were jokes.
The only good women are high school girls.
Yeah.
No gender swapping. Keep the
Right.
boys
No,
boys.
I mean-
Women can't dig holes.
I'll say that I've never read Holes.
It's a great book.
I know it's well loved.
Yeah.
And I like the movie. I only saw it the one time, but I know it's beloved.
hmm
Right? People still talk about that
Yeah.
movie fondly.
Yes.
But yeah, maybe. What is it?
But,
They dig hole.
no.
They're in like they're like in a correctional,
Like
like
a
it's like a kid.
I don't want to
kid jail.
spoil holes, but the plot threads come together very well. It's like told cross-cut between that and the stories of this like old West
Isn't
outlaw
he-
lady.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. And then all the threads come together in
Yeah,
a very
that's right.
satisfying way. But it is
Okay.
right. It was an excellent book. I
Yes.
feel like it's one of the most kind of like now beloved.
Classic
Long-form
young person.
children's
It's
books
like
of
it's
all
like The Giver. It's on
Yes.
that. It's on the.
It's kind of on the
top.
immortal list. And then they
Yes.
made a movie where everyone was like, wow, pleasantly surprised. They adapted this well. They hired good people. And you're like, just doing it with girls instead doesn't feel like, oh, we have a really new in.
Karen roasted us. I feel like we should
I-
just support it. We should just say it's good.
Whole girl boss gang.
Fuck. Remember when they made a movie of The Giver and it stunk? That was so annoying.
Yeah, but they tried to make The Giver in the style of all the movies
I know.
we're talking
they
about.
were doing like a young adult fantasy.
They
sort of-
did it as
you
if it
see
was like
No, I didn't
Divergent.
watch
It's
this. Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because in The Giver,
Meryl Streep is in it and Jeff Bridges.
Jeff
Like they
Bridges.
got. Yeah.
and Taylor Swift is in it.
Wait, what?
But they aged them all up to like teenagers, so it could be more like post-Twilight, moody drama, romance.
Oh.
Look, what's important is that fifth at the box office is another book adaptation, kind of young adulty, a little more mainstream action, kind of franchisee.
It's not Jumper, is it?
It is Jumper.
Okay.
I mean, how the fuck are
Wow.
you doing this?
I told you this
I
is a
know,
very
you were
distant period of my life.
leaving college. It was a big moment.
I
in your
was
life.
leaving college.
College,
You were
leaving
crawling
I
out
made,
of
I made the
college.
bad choice to go to University of Crawling. I was
just
like, why am I going
I was
backwards?
living-
I already learned how to
You know
walk.
what? I was living in Paris at the time.
Whoa,
That's
This
why I
is
was seeing none of
brag.
these movies.
Sexiest period where he went to he lived in Paris and he was a bartender.
I
Yeah,
was.
we have to be understanding because in Paris they call college crawlage. So, you know.
I go to college. Yeah, Jumper, which is also bad.
Really bad.
Yeah, Doug Lyman's job. Have you seen Jumper?
No, I
Hayden
haven't seen any of
Christensen
these.
plays someone who learns to teleport.
Whoa.
And our friend Jamie Bell
Teleportation. Yes.
That would be
plays
impressive.
a bit of a rapscallion
He's
jumper
another jumper.
named Griffin. The other thing with that movie, it's the same fucking thing as The Giver. The characters in the book are like 12. They announced it was cast with 12-year-olds. And then like a month before filming, the head of Fox went to Doug Lyman and is like, 12-year-olds aren't cool.
Oh no.
Don't you want this to be a blockbuster? Cast older.
Oh,
And they
weird.
dropped the whole cast. It starts the first 15 minutes with them as 12-year-olds, and then it like jumps ahead. And then he was like, Hayden Christensen is box office gold. Rewrite this for Hayden Christensen, and I'll give you an extra $20 million in the budget.
Jesus.
And the movie sucks.
Yes, and Hayden is not good in it.
But it's stuck in a
Sort of a
weird
limited
zone
actor.
between being like a YA thing and trying to be like a cooler, edgier, like Matrix-y thing.
right. So that's the top 5. Number 6 at the box office is Step Up to the Streets.
Oh, I watched that. Harry Shum Jr. was in it, and I thought he was so handsome.
Harry Shum Jr. is a very good looking guy who's a very good dancer.
I think I was just really excited to see like an Asian person, and then I don't think he had any lines.
Well, I mean, lines aren't really the point of the Step Up movies. It's not really about what they're
really
saying.
Good point,
Did he have any steps?
And you know what? He did.
He did. One of the greatest titles of all time.
Step Up to the Street.
No colon.
Yes. Number 7 at the box office is the...
That's what makes it good.
I never thought about that.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, what? It's called Step Up 2 : the streets?
Wow,
No, it's a
Step Up
command.
2.
But it kind of makes you think about
I'm
having a
asking
colon.
you to step up to the streets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Number 6 at the box office is the flop-ish, vague flop, Fool's Gold with Matthew McConaughey and Kate Hudson, and they're searching for treasure.
You know what's funny about that movie?
What?
It's
Nothing.
It's like unrepentant dog shit.
Who made it?
It's Andy Flickman, I want to say.
Andy Tennant.
Fuck, I get Flickman and Tennant confused.
Okay.
Did he also do How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days? I feel like it was an exact reteam.
Yeah, sure. Andy Flickman's the guy who did the one where like the Rock plays football or whatever.
Oh, right. Yeah.
The Game Plan.
And
Number 8 at the box office is No Country for Old Men.
Ooh.
Now that's quite a good film.
Which, of course, is about to win Best Picture at the Oscars.
We will be covering it soon on this podcast.
That's also true.
That's also true.
And number 9 at the box office, new this week, is the Christina Ricci sort of Sundance hit mega flop Penelope.
Oh, she's a lady with a pig nose.
Right? That's what that is,
that
right?
Really what it's about?
The plot of that movie is Christina Ricci has a pig nose and she has to wear a scarf over her face so that people don't judge her. And James McAvoy's her love interest, and I think Reese Witherspoon plays like a badass biker lady.
Okay.
Never seen.
Reese Witherspoon produced it.
Wow.
Yes, she did. And number 10 at the box office, which I did see this one. I think I saw it in France, but I'm not sure. Might see it in England. Was the somewhat charming romantic comedy Definitely Maybe.
That movie
Ryan
is
Reynolds.
Pretty charming.
And Rachel Weisz and Elizabeth Banks.
Wow.
It's kind of cute.
I haven't seen it, but
It's
it
kinda
sounds
cute.
like something I would really like.
It's kind of like what we, Reynolds at his
lost.
most calm.
Okay.
This
I don't
Still doing a
really-
little bit of his like bullshit, but
this
like not
era,
over the top.
I was
Yeah.
so all in and Ryan Reynolds, and I was like, what do I have to do to get
Really?
the public on board with this guy as a movie star?
And the
Yeah.
public
I
was like,
wish
Deadpool!
and I dream, and now I live in a hell of my own wishing. I don't like anything he does anymore, and we've
Yeah.
like lost like this era of like Just Friends, Definitely Maybe, fucking Adventureland, which is his
Griff,
best performance.
You were just saying this in a group chat of
Yes.
ours.
They
where
announced
you
that
were like,
Just Friends is coming out on
right.
Blu-ray, and Alex Ross Perry was joking like, "Who is going to
would
buy
ever
this?"
buy this?
And I was like, "I've been writing letters to Congress for
Right.
years."
And you were like, I dreamed of a world where this was the kind of thing he did. And Alex said, I dream of a world where he doesn't exist and never did.
"Yes,
Which I thought was a good rejoinder.
it was a good."
How do you feel
remark.
about Ryan Reynolds?
Oh, I think I always forget he exists, and then when I relearn about him, I'm a little bit annoyed.
There you go.
That's a great.
That's how I
great
felt
way
when
of
he
popping.
popped up on SNL 50, where I was like, oh. And then I was like, all right, can we be done? Can we,
Yeah.
can we you like Ryan Reynolds? He's your favorite actor, right? You told me that recently.
No.
Ben is currently wearing a Ryan Reynolds t-shirt.
Yes, he is. And it says like Deadpool.
It's him crossed out.
Oh no! You've also got Juno still hanging around in the box office.
What's Juno up to at this point?
$135 million.
So it's still going to make another 30.
That's crazy. You've got the Martin Lawrence. Is it Martin Lawrence? Yeah, Martin Lawrence film. Welcome Home, Roscoe Jenkins.
Oh yeah,
And you've got Be Kind, Rewind.
yeah. My most anticipated movie of 2008 did not live up to expectations.
No, not a very good movie.
Now an interesting curio, but at the time I was like, Michelle Gondry's gonna make a fucking Jack Black Most Def movie
Wow.
where they have to remake all the most popular blockbusters of the last 50 years. It did. I mean, look, it kind of.
It's a great premise.
It's a great premise, and like
movie.
it does have the lasting legacy of people doing the thing,
Yeah, whatever. It
Rewinding.
making your own like low budget cardboard shot for shot recreations. Yeah,
sucks. Even that feels kind of out of date.
yeah, but it lasted for a couple years.
Karen, what's up with you? What should we plug?
Oh, nothing.
What?
Yeah.
What have you been in LA doing?
Oh, I have been working on a show.
Right.
And it was a lot like this movie, right? Yeah.
I worked on a show called A Man on the Inside. It's like a little mystery comedy starring Ted Danson, and he's having a pretty good time.
It's on
So,
Netflix, right?
Yeah, season 1 is on Netflix. I've been working on season 2.
Right.
That one hopefully will also be on Netflix.
Champion Your Would be weird if it wasn't.
It would be
Tubi.
strange. But I would love to plug, I think I would just love to plug Yo-Yo Ma.
Ugh,
He's amazing.
that guy doesn't get enough credit.
It's actually rude we've never had him on the show.
Yo-Yo Ma's funny.
Yeah, he's
Anytime
really funny.
Yo-Yo Ma does a little cameo or a little like talking head thing, I'm like,
So
Yo-Yo Ma's
charming.
funny.
Does he
he's
like vamps? Has he seen vamps?
Yo-Yo Ma, you like vamps? My friend was at Carnegie Hall recently, and
Yes.
he said the cello cases or the things holding cellos are orange now,
Oh.
and he was disturbed by this.
Was he at the Yo-Yo Ma concert on Thursday?
I think he was.
Wow, incredible.
I don't know.
Yeah.
He was talking to me about this,
Wow.
but it was. I don't have enough for you on this. I'm
Wow.
sorry.
That's
We
okay.
can cut that out of the
Huge
episode.
no, keep it in and double it,
That
Ben.
was really good. Can I share a little Paul Rudd story?
Please. Was he at the Spotted Pig one time?
I don't think so.
Okay, fair enough.
My friend Nate, who has been helping me out with getting to the gym. Shout
Yes.
out to Nate.
You've been
Are you saying Nate's your trainer, or
You've been
It's
working.
more-
on
you're
he's
making
just
it
like-
sound like Nate's sort of
He's
like
a accountability buddy, but he
Oh, okay.
also
Oh, okay.
knows
Sure,
his
sure,
way
sure.
around the gym in a way where like I'm so rusty and just like I feel out of sorts. So I just need someone to be like, do this.
And what's the address of your gym, and when do you go there?
I just
roughly?
want to
What
say,
times?
Ben says I have a story to share. I look over to Karen. Karen mouths to me, I have to go.
I'm so sorry.
And it's like
Oh, no, you can
comically,
get out of here.
Ben
You
starts
should go.
telling the story in the
Okay.
slowest way possible.
All right, all right.
The
I didn't
calendar said
know.
we'd be done at 4.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, it's
Our
okay.
podcast is built on lies.
That's okay. Can I use the bathroom?
Yeah,
You guys
go-
hear me?
absolutely.
There.
Go
Okay, thank you.
So you use the bathroom. We'll tell you whether or not the Paul Rudd story is worth hearing when you get out. Okay, finish the story.
Nathan's been keeping you accountable at the gym.
Yes. And so Nate used to work for the Stuttering Association for the Young. Paul Rudd is really involved with that nonprofit. He had like a role, like a Broadway show, 3 Days of Rain, and got involved with the
With
organization.
Julia Roberts and Bradley Cooper.
Uh,
One of the most stacked Broadway casts ever. Weirdly.
And so he now does an annual fundraiser where he basically has like a bowling event. Yeah. And like gets celebrities to come out. And so Nate was running that event and got to hang out with Paul Rudd a bunch.
And he sucks and is really mean.
no, he's like the best fucking guy.
Hell
Like,
yeah.
of course.
stories about
Yeah.
Paul Rudd.
But so
yeah.
Paul Rudd, though, showed him about this bit that he's been doing.
Is it the finger thing?
Yes. Do you know about this, David? All right. So I'm texting
I know he
the
has a
group
bar.
thread.
Well, he's got like
it's like an invite-only bar. up
It's
in
not like an actual
upstate.
business. It's like he's built an Irish pub in the basement of his house, which I've heard is rad as
I
hell.
want to go there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So he has this bit that he's been doing where he holds his finger up in front of the camera of the cell phone in just a way where it looks like a butt.
It looks like a butt with, and then he has a modified version of it where he can make it look like you're seeing the back of a ball sack underneath the butt.
And so to bring up Graham Norton, he tells the story on the Graham Norton show.
Right. Yes. I remember seeing him on some talk show give the walkthrough of how to do it.
Yeah. But I sent over a couple of pictures
They're
that
good.
Nate illustrated how
The
you
butt.
do it effectively.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
can post those to social, of course.
Okay. Will you
Yes.
text this one with Ben's face to Karen right now?
I'll text. Yeah, I got it.
And then this is going to be right without
Karen-
context
Karen-
because you missed the story. Let's just see how you respond to this. Karen, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Karen,
Such a
sorry we
joy.
kept you so long.
No,
I'm
it's
sorry.
okay.
Do you
This
want
is
to drop
a
that
joy.
letterbox handle or are we trying to keep that private?
Oh my gosh, no, it's just my name. My name
Hell
is
yeah.
Karen and my last name is Chee.
Pretty sure it's Kenny Chee, but
Yeah, right, because you'd be logging.
Right. I should change it to IB Login.
Absolutely.
we just
Yeah.
sent you a picture of Ben doing a finger trick that looks like a
Don't
butt.
give it away!
Oh, I'm
Oh.
sorry.
Wait, what do you want me to look?
Just
I'm
look at the
looking
photo.
Just look
Hold
and
on.
smile.
It's a Paul Rudd thing.
Oh, what?
That's why I was preparing her. It seems a little aggressive to
But-
text it out of context.
It's a trick where you hold your finger in front of the lens and it looks like there's a butt.
Oh, you know what? This doesn't really look like a butt.
Yeah, I don't know how well Ben did.
Okay, well, those are just examples. Paul Rudd, I'm sure, is
Do you
like
want
a
me to go to the
pro
bathroom
at it.
again?
Yeah, he's the best at everything. You want to do another round?
Do you want to try it again, but be
You guys,
nice
I'm
about
so
it?
late to meet my aunt, though. I do have to go.
Thank
I'm
you
so
all
I
for
sorry.
listening.
It is so funny that you have a busy schedule today. That it's your aunt's, and you got to go see your aunt. So
Got
get
to
out of
go.
here.
Big ups to Karen's aunt.
Thank you for having me.
Tune in next week for Vamps with our friend Caroline Framke,
That's
returning
right.
to the show for the first time in way too long.
Way too long.
And as always, fuck.
All right.
Don't say all right. Help me out here.
Kenny B. Loggin.
Kenny B. Loggin.
Kenny B. Loggin.
Kenny B.
The
Loggin.
butt story was worth it.
Okay.
So worth it. So worth it. I mean, glad to hear he's a nice guy.
Blank Check with Griffin and David is hosted by Griffin Newman and David Sims. Our executive producer is me, Ben Hosley. Our creative producer is Marie Barty Salinas, and our associate producer is AJ McKeon. This show is mixed and edited by AJ McKeon and Alan Smithy. Research by JJ Birch. Our theme song is by Lane Montgomery and the Great American Novel, with additional music by Alex Mitchell. Artwork by Joe Bowen, Ollie Moss, and Pat Reynolds. Our production assistant is Minnick. Special thanks to David Cho, Jordan Fish, and Nate Patterson for their production help. Head over to blankcheckpod.com for links to all of the real nerdy shit. Join our Patreon, Blank Check Special Features, for exclusive franchise commentaries and bonus episodes. Follow us on social at blankcheckpod. Subscribe to our weekly newsletter, Checkbook, on Substack. This podcast is created and produced by Blank Check Productions.